And we are live. Good Saturday
morning,
morning.
everyone.
Hope you guys are doing well. If someone in the comments could just let us know that they can hear us okay,
Yeah.
and we will start talking. I think some people were getting upset last time that we were doing the mic check. But when you're live, you don't want to start talking
Yeah.
and then have no one hear you for 15
Yeah.
minutes and then not hear it. But
Yeah.
I do see people coming in. And so we'll just make sure that someone puts in the comments and
Yeah.
we will
Make
start
sure
talking.
both mics are good.
Yeah, make sure our mics are good, that we sound good. I've become painfully aware, and I actually appreciate feedback. I think a lot of people, especially if you put yourself out there, they don't like to hear as much critical feedback, and no one likes to hear negative things said about themselves.
We just talked about this yesterday morning.
Yeah, but I will say, Taylor and I were talking. I used to mumble really bad when I was younger, and that is one thing. I didn't have a stutter or a lisp or anything. That is one thing I've just had to work on my whole life is not mumbling. And when I communicate now, I have to enunciate my words much more. It also particularly happens when I speak really fast. If I get excited about something. And anyway, I have become aware, especially now that we have our studio set up and everything, to enunciate my words much more. But the first podcast we did with Sarah, I know there were some audio issues because the mic that I had was we didn't have the other stand set up yet, and so the arm was not a moving arm. So it was like this arm can move, and so like if I move, it moves with me, and so it can stay the same distance. Whereas that one I was moving, and so my mouth was going. So anyway, just to preface that, but hope everyone is having a good Saturday. This will be the last Saturday of March. I can't believe April is already here.
That's crazy. I feel like March flew by.
Depending on where you're at, right now we are choking on pollen outside. It's almost, it's kind of stinks because the weather is really nice, but now the pollen. I looked up yesterday and we're kind of in a flight path where we live, where the planes land. Not too bad, but it was almost like a yellow haze that you could see. It was like the plane was going through a yellow cloud that you could see it.
Yeah.
Like, man, that is crazy. And our dogs don't like it either. I was playing fetch with the dogs yesterday and it was so dry. Luckily it rained last night, but it was so dry that our dogs were like choking on pollen with the toys and the grass and everything. But gotta love North Carolina Springs, but the weather is really nice. Yeah. Anyway, anything on your mind in general? And guys, go ahead and put the questions up there. But we'll get to all the questions, I promise. But anything on your mind in general in the peptide space that is going on right now that excites you, scares you?
I would say nothing ever scared. Well, the things that concern me or scare me, I'm not going to talk about because they're just things that we don't use. Not that it's scary, but I think we're just not going to go there. I think with everything happening with the regulations of peptides becoming more accessible for medical, I don't want to use certain terms.
Yeah, just talk. You're good.
I think a lot of people are worried about the research industry about it. Like, what does this mean for research? Does it mean we're going to only be able to get peptides prescribed from a doctor? Does that mean research peptides are going away? And it's something that I'm concerned about. Like, I think it's a positive thing. I think this is things I've said for years that eventually peptides will be moving into that realm to where they're going to be more accessible for doctors. But I think that it's a positive thing because peptides are so powerful and they make such a big impact on people and they have changed people's lives. We've seen with the people that we work with just how much of a benefit it has using these tools and how, they've kind of gotten a bad light in, years prior, but now that we have more people using them, and honestly, that's because of research. I think it's because of research peptides. It made it accessible for there to be more case studies with them and for more people having accessibility to them. And I don't know, I get annoyed when the medical teams, the medical people kind of come in and be like, yeah, peptides shouldn't be researched. Like all the research peptides are bad. And it's like, no. Like we did you guys a favor. Like we were case studies for us because no one was studying this in clinical basis. Yes. Are there some clinical trials going on? Yes. But if it wasn't for research peptides, they wouldn't have become mainstream like they're becoming now. So I get annoyed as someone in the chemical research industry of when medical people want to come at us for that. And not all
Well,
medical people. I'm not saying all.
yeah, I don't think it's obviously not all medical people, and I'm friends with so many
Yeah.
doctors who are passionate. And I think here's what I will say. This is the hierarchy of what we are dealing with right now. You have big pharma that sits on top, and right now, big pharma wants the GLP money. That's, as they say, follow the money. Big
Yeah.
pharma wants the GLP money. I don't think they necessarily care so much about the BPCs of the world, things like that.
No.
They may try to stem the tide of those becoming popular, which it looks like they're not going to be able to do, but they may try to stem the tide of those becoming popular until they can come up with patented versions that they can reap profits on.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's what they do. That's the machine. That's the world we live in. But you have big pharma sit on that. And then the next layer down is the compounding pharmacies and the independent world, I guess, of the clinical world, that you would say you have a lot of private doctors that would use a compounding pharmacy, or even large public companies now like Hims
Mhm.
and Hers that will use compounding pharmacies to make what they would be called compounded GLPs. And so big pharma says compounders are bad. They're the ones that are ruining everything because they're dangerous. They're giving our patented drugs to people in a compounded version that is now dangerous, is going to cause harm to them. The last 4 years, and it's kind of funny because big pharma depended on the compounding pharmacy world
Mhm.
to get all of the people hooked on GLP-1s because they weren't able to meet the demand. And so they
Mhm.
said, "Hey, help us make these so we can get everyone hooked on them." Which, I mean, hey, I'm in support of people being hooked on GLP-1s. If there's a thing you could be hooked on, GLP-1 would be better than
Yeah.
alcohol or whatnot. However, big pharma relied on the compounders to fill the need and get everyone addicted to GLPs, so to speak. And now that there's not an emergency use authorization for those, big pharma is saying, well, the compounders are bad now because they're taking money away from us because they're giving you quote unquote dangerous versions of the medication.
Mhm.
And where do the compounders turn? Well, the compounders and the people with the clinics of the world and everything like that, they're saying, we're not bad. We're doing everything that we're supposed to do, quote unquote, getting inspected by the FDA, whatnot, blah, blah, blah. It's the research people that are bad. It's the 4 out of every 5 peptides right now that are being consumed on the market are research peptides. They're the bad guys. They're the
Mhm.
bad ones. And so you have this chain of blame that it goes from the compounder or the big pharma to the compounders, and then they're blaming the research world. Whereas the research world just really came to exist because of what the government did to compounders in 2023, which is basically they made those 19 peptides category 2, advised against making them, to which it became harder to prescribe them.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a point the finger type game. In the research world, because of the nature of what it is the easiest one to point the finger at. But like you were saying, we now have the research world is what drove much of this information into the mainstream. The
Yeah.
research world is the people that figured out how to use this. It's the people that figured out, hey, what is the dosing for VIP? We don't really know, but let's
Mhm.
let's try it. Let's try it and figure it out. And then, oh my goodness, VIP helps heal gut issues. It helps heal autoimmune disease. It helps bring down nervous system tone and everything. Helps you enter into more of a parasympathetic state. And so the compounders of the world, they're like, we want our money. We want our hundreds of millions of dollars. We're little old compounders. We're making hundreds of millions. Big pharma's making billions. And you have the research world that really just exists to fill a gap and fill a
Mhm.
void that gets the short end of the stick, and they really have no representation. Nor do I think a lot of the research world really want representation, because if they bring attention to themselves, everyone else is just going to try to make them look bad. And I admit that sucks. But anyway, one thing I was working on this week, if you're on my email list, I sent out a survey for BPC 157. I'm with some group of people. We're just working on bringing safety data around peptides. And I think whatever spectrum you come at this, whatever side of the fence you come from, I think it's a good thing to say that we can have user crowdsourced data around safety, maybe not even efficacy so much as safety, meaning that these are safe things. If we
Mhm.
have a list of 10,000 people that have independently verified that they have taken something like BPC 157 safely, I don't know that they'll necessarily be able to shut down the research world. Yes, they may introduce it into the compounding world and have the ability to go through doctors. I just don't see the research world as being something that could necessarily be shut down. You can try to handicap it at the knees right now with
Mhm.
payment processing things and like that, until this is my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, until it becomes something that there is a precedent for criminal prosecution against people using and selling research peptides, which does not seem that we are even close to right now. At least right now, that could change. Obviously, anything could change. But until we get to that point, I would say the research world is going to exist in the fashion and form that it does. And people have to understand too, peptides are so fringe right now that most people in the research world are kind of like driving this market forward. But think of your neighbor. Like if I think of the 10 neighbors around my house right now, how many of those people are going to buy a research peptide from a research website and use that? Maybe one or two.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
there's also
think,
still the whole thing also too. People are still very scared of
yeah, of injecting.
injections
But
too.
I think if you took the average person and you said, hey, you can inject this from your doctor, you can inject it from a website that you buy it off the internet, more people are going to be open to getting it from their doctor. And I think
Yes.
to the point is to expose peptides to a broader class of people and really drive the market forward to look at root healing.
Yeah.
The best thing we can do as a community of whatever it is have data to say, hey, this is safe. We're not doing anything that's harming anybody,
Mhm.
and then actually get it in the hands of prescribers. And then ultimately too, what I would dream ends up happening, maybe we never get there, that one of our friends was talking about in Thailand, she can just walk into the pharmacy, pull her Retta and BPC off the shelf, go check out and walk out. Do we ever get that in the United States? I don't know.
No.
But it would be really cool if you could just go into a CVS or a Walgreens and pull some BPC and GHK right off the shelf and do it. Now, in the United States, will we ever get there? I don't know. But at least in terms of driving the narrative forward about safety, I think that's where it is. But I think that's where it is. Obviously, we come from the research world, and that's what we're in support of. Because really, what that means to me is I'm in support of being able to use whatever I want in my own body. And to wax poetic for a second, I can go 10 minutes from my house and go to an ABC store or anywhere and get enough liquor to kill myself in 3 hours.
Yeah.
But you can't walk into a CVS and get BPC 157, to which you can inject
Yeah.
the entire inventory in the store and nothing bad is going to happen.
Well, and there's some states that all drugs are legal.
Well, yeah, I think we see probably like Oregon and other states like that to like where it's not even criminalized to
Yeah,
have
which I
drugs
think
anymore.
we know why they do that. You know, it's interesting. I'm going to change the subject a little bit because I
Okay.
don't, this just like popped into my head. I'm going to change it a little bit. Is that I was watching a reality show. I'm not
As
going
you
to,
do.
and on the show, one of the cast members on the show has an eating disorder. She's anorexic. And then I get like super, well, when I'm already super annoyed. I don't know why sometimes I watch these reality shows, but that's not the point here. And she's talking about her eating disorder with anorexia. And then she's been using tirzepatide and GLPs. And then she goes on a whole rant about how dangerous these are. And because of this show, and because this show is being talked about a ton right now in the press, obviously, like, no one's going to take advice, probably. It's like, it's trash reality television. But what are your thoughts on that with anorexia, bulimia, eating disorders with GLPs? Because we know it can be beneficial.
I actually
but-
think this would maybe be an unpopular opinion. I can't speak to it because I would never say I've had an eating disorder, other than sometimes I like to eat too much. But I wouldn't classify that as like an eating disorder.
Well, I know several people that had eating disorders and GLPs have helped them.
Well, if you think about it like this, what do we know that GLPs are doing? They're normalizing neurotransmitters because they're improving the environment in the body, which is then you improve the metabolic environment in the body. That's going to help everything downstream. If you look at someone with an eating disorder, where is that driven from? Is it driven from life trauma? Is it driven from dopamine deficiency or too much dopamine or not enough serotonin, too much serotonin? I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you look at it as a strictly brain problem, I think the GLP would help the environment with it. That would then help the brain be able to handle that more efficiently. Meaning it would normalize behavior that exists beyond the bounds of what we would consider healthy and happy.
Yeah.
Which would be, for a lot of people, could be addiction. Some people, it's an eating disorder. I think by improving that environment, you make a person feel better, to which then they have more of a normal relationship with food. I would say GLPs have made me have more of a normal relationship with food.
Yeah.
But I can't speak to someone if, say they're anorexic.
Yeah.
They could take a GLP. It's just going to enable them to be more anorexic. I don't know. I mean, I've heard better. Like, I've heard actually the opposite, that it actually helps them,
Yeah.
that it actually helps them normalize their relationship with food.
Mhm.
What do you think? Because you'd have more of a women's perspective. I think you see much more women that are anorexic and bulimic than you would men. Not that it doesn't happen to men.
Yeah.
But as a woman, do you think that the what would drive the eating disorder behavior could be improved by a GLP because it normalizes the relationship with food, to which you don't have this same obsession with food, because then it becomes no different than brushing your teeth. Do people that are A lot of people don't have a problem strictly avoiding brushing your teeth. Maybe I do sometimes. But actually I brush my teeth every night, but I could probably brush them more in the morning sometimes. The problem is I don't want to drink them before I have coffee because my breath will stink after I have coffee, and I forget to brush my teeth after I have coffee. But I will use mouthwash. However, to the point, if you think of the normalization of a relationship with food,
Yeah.
I think you potentially improve. What do you think?
It's kind of like a double-edged sword. I do think that it can improve the relationship with food, but I think if you're somebody who also I also can see like where GLPs like will suppress your appetite so much like it will make you like not hungry. And then some people have told me they forget to eat. I mean, I don't forget to eat. Maybe some days like when I'm fasting, I get busier and I needed to break my fast sooner. But I mean, forgetting to eat, I think can happen, but I do think that it does help normalize the relationship with the food. I think a lot of it also is a psychological, um, you know, mental state as well too. I think a lot of it too, especially for women, I think it's also a gut micro like issue as well. I think a lot of women like not taking digestive enzymes, that's a huge one, especially when you're on GLPs or without being on GLPs. Like, I think a lot of it has a lot to do with the gut
Yeah.
issues going on
Yeah.
as well too, because a lot of times, like, just think about me, how many times I complain about, like, feeling bloated after I'm done eating. I think that's where, like, especially with bulimia, where a lot of women get triggered is that, like, they already had this psychological issue, like, of not being happy with the way that they look, and then they eat, and then they feel full, and it's like there's a difference between, like, full and bloat, but, like, that full and bloated feeling can feel very, very, very similar, and then you get in your head that, like, "Oh, I ate, my stomach's now bigger because there's food sitting in it. My body hasn't had time to digest it and break it down, and now I feel bloated, I feel fat, like, and now I'm uncomfortable, and I now just, like, want to relieve this feeling," and I think that's where a lot of times the issue with bulimia
Mm.
comes in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if anything, it probably, like I said, from a brain standpoint, improve most people, not
Mhm.
all, because some people get a little depressed on GLPs. I think you see that more with semaglutide. But most people, it normalizes the environment, that improves
Mhm.
metabolic health, that then improves brain health, that
Mhm.
then helps people feel better. And so those things don't become, and maybe if you would classify eating disorders more as like an addictive, compulsive thing, like in
Yeah.
that category of things, I think it helps. It obviously
Yeah.
helps those.
Yeah, it
So
does.
I think by transient property, it would help that. But yeah, I would be interested to see more data on that. There's a lot of things, if I could wave a magic wand and say I'd love to have a study or 1,000 people that tell me their experiences with this. It'd be really cool. But anyway, anything else on your mind this morning?
No, that's it.
All right, let's jump into some questions. Shinna's the first one on, and she says, husband's on 225 milligrams test, low dose Cialis and estrogen. His hair has changed a lot. Looks like he put his finger in a light socket, super dry, curly, and a mess. Taylor, as the resident hairstylist, what would you recommend? Don't ask me because mine's about the same.
There is something I do notice that, like, there is something, like, I feel like like, with testosterone hormone replacement therapy, I do think that it does, like it can shift the texture of the hair, um, a lot of coarseness. So, hair product-wise, I would do, like, um, any kind of, like, lightweight moisturizing creams
Mm. Is that
is
what I
what
use
well,
for the
sometimes you use a
product?
moisturizing cream, sometimes you use a curl cream.
Okay.
So, there is a difference, and again hair products that I recommend are not cheap, but Oribe has a really good hair cream called it's a oh, what one is it? It's their curl cream is really good, and then they have another lightweight moisturizing cream from their smoothing line. That one's really good. I'm trying to think of like less like expensive salon professional lines that are still really good, but any kind of lightweight moisturizing cream because you can always add to it. And even like on days that like you don't dry, you can always add it in there. So
Yeah. Do you find that people's hair gets more curly when they're on hormones? Or is that a thyroid thing?
well, I consider thyroid part of hormones. So
My hair's gotten curlier.
your hair's definitely gotten
as I've
curlier. There
gotten
is a
older.
picture. There was a picture of you that your mom recently sent. I don't know, but Zane was really young in it.
I was probably 20. 19
Yeah.
or 20.
And your hair was longer, but it was not as I mean, it had body, but it wasn't curly. But it
That
wasn't
also
as like
too-
straight as like one of your other brother's hair is, like as like the
Yeah.
younger two are. But it was like more wavy. And it's interesting too, because your other brother, his hair texture, when I've seen pictures of him, wasn't as curly as it is now. And his hair has definitely gotten curlier.
It also might have been too, that was the first time I grew my hair out. Because before that, in high school, I used to shave my head by myself. Like,
Yeah, and that can
I would
make
shave my
it
own
makes a
head.
difference with the
Just how many
vortex
years,
of the hair.
it's been
Yeah.
going. But anyway, you know what's interesting about hair is I was using a GHK cream this week, and every time I use it, like I'll put it on after I shave. I really like it. My hair, every time within 1 to 2 days after using it, my hair starts to grow so much on my body to the point it's uncomfortable. Like this morning, I had shaved my chest probably like a week or two ago. Usually just shave it every couple weeks. And it was so itchy because like the hair was growing so much. It's crazy how much GHK grows
GHK will
hair.
grow
My body hair
your
specifically,
body.
but it does. I mean, for me, my head hair, I mean, I'm very fortunate and blessed genetically. I have good hair genes from both sides of my family. I mean, my dad's in his late 50s, still has full head of hair, even though he like shaves it bald. My grandpa's 84. He still has pretty much a full head of hair. My other grandpa that died 13 years ago, he had hair while he was doing chemotherapy. Like it didn't even fall out from chemotherapy. And so, yeah, fortunately for me, but even still, it just makes my hair very thick.
Yeah.
Especially on my face too.
Yeah. I do think it does make body hair, I feel like, thicker and coarser.
Yeah.
Because I even noticed that even with my own.
Yeah,
and
it's becoming more
and
popular.
I don't inject GHK. The only GHK I use is a serum.
Yeah.
On my face.
Well, that's what I'm saying is not even from injecting it.
I don't
It's
inject
just from the topical that I can put it topically on my face, but it will make my body hair grow more.
Yeah.
I mean, my facial hair more too.
Yeah.
But anyway. Jennifer says, do you have any feedback or results from people taking an mTOR inhibitor like rapamycin for longevity? Hunter, I've heard you talk about good effects from SGLT2 inhibitors. Are these opposites? I would not say an SGLT2 is an opposite to an mTOR inhibitor. They're kind of adjacent. To my knowledge, mechanistically, the SGLT2 is not going to inhibit mTOR as much. Now, metformin will. Metformin is like rapamycin light. Metformin would be kind of something that I think a lot of people hate it. I still take 500 milligrams of metformin per day. Metformin, I would think it'd be something that's a good balance of suppressing mTOR, but not too much. Whereas rapamycin is a very large manual lever to suppress mTOR, which basically means you suppress mTOR. Think of mTOR as if mTOR is on, we're growing. mTOR on means muscle building on. Muscle building mode on is mTOR up. mTOR down, muscle building mode off. Fasting autophagy mode on. So lower mTOR is more like you're fasting. And so when we're fasting, our mTOR is lower. AMPK is typically higher. SGLT2s don't really work that way, although because of what they do, they signal to the body to be more in a fasting state. But I would say metformin has more mTOR suppression than an SGLT2 would be. I personally don't use rapamycin. I might mess around with it in the future. I think as people get into their late 40s and 50s, they could probably take, I think the standard dose is 6 milligrams. You could maybe do on a rest day, take a 6 milligram pill of rapamycin and get good mTOR suppression, to which you're inducing some autophagy there. But I don't feel like I'm in a state right now, just based on everything that I can objectively measure from health, that I would do that. But I would say metformin, to me, if you want to go down that pathway of mTOR suppression, metformin at 500 milligrams would be a good trade-off of not having too much mTOR suppression, but also getting good mTOR inhibition to kind of induce those autophagy pathways. Rapamycin can be good. I just think it's a use case thing, and then obviously you wouldn't want to do it. The problem is if you take mTOR suppression too far, we end up losing muscle. And then what does that do? We don't want to be frail
No.
because we're going to have low muscle, eventually lead to bone
Especially
density.
especially after the age of 50.
Yeah. And the way I like to view it is we kind of want to do this dance of have phases where we're growing muscle and then phases where we're more of in like a rest and digest autophagy type thing. So you want to be cyclical in how you do that. And if you're in a cycle or a phase where that would be more of the focus, I think rapamycin can be appropriate, but I just wouldn't want to do it all the time. But I mean, there is very compelling data around rapamycin, but the SGLT2s roundabout would get you there, but I wouldn't think of those as something that's suppressing mTOR. And I think you can take an SGLT2 daily. I do. And it's crazy. We just got some blood work done, and both of our EGFRs, probably from FOXO3 that we had done recently, and SGLT2s that we use every day, were 100. And an EGFR over 100 indicates very good kidney health. Obviously, like you can get into like other markers to look at, but that would be kind of the one indicator. And our GFRs were 100 plus. I think mine was 100 and yours was like a little bit over 100. So point being is that SGLT2s are, I think, miracle. I think in the next 10 years, they will become so much more prevalent. I talked about that on the podcast I did with Dr. Abid this week, and he's a big fan of them too, from what he sees from a cardiac perspective. Speaking of GHK, Jim from Chicago says, what are your thoughts on higher amounts of GHK? I love that peptide. I actually take 35 milligrams. Would a high dose provide better benefits? I think I would just play with it to see where you go. The only rate limiting thing of GHK that you would say is there's these people that will complain about copper toxicity. I've done math on this. Now, whether this math is actually right or not, it seems like in order to have copper toxicity or even broach into the area to which you would say like, okay, maybe there's a little bit too much copper, you'd have to inject like 60 milligrams a day. Now, no one's injecting 60 milligrams a day of GHK. You would have intolerable pain. You'd have intolerable pain before I think you would get to that point. But 3 to 5 milligrams per day, absolutely not. And I think relative to man-woman size, you could probably say like even 5 milligrams per day, you might see more benefits than 1 to 2 milligrams per day. I think it's more of a tolerability of how much you could tolerate the injection without pain before then. But no, I wouldn't say that would be an issue. And potentially, I think there's probably a threshold point, 3 to 5 versus 10. Are you going to notice it? I don't think so. I don't think you would notice more benefits from 10 than you would 5. Yeah. But probably more than 5 than you would 1, for sure. But I don't think it's like, for people that will megadose BPC, which you can do in a short window, do like a couple days of 5 milligrams of BPC, or I even like doing TB500 better than BPC in that higher dose fashion. You wouldn't want to do that all the time, but I definitely notice, if you do like 5 milligrams of TB500 or 10 milligrams of TB500, there's more benefit than just 1 milligram or half a milligram for healing purposes. Kathleen, I always forget to put the questions on the screen.
Yeah.
Kathleen says, how do I make my estrogen not go down the 16-OH pathway? Goes mostly 16. That's a long conversation. I mean, there's not like one supplement you can take. There's not like one thing you can take. I will say this, for people that are metabolically healthy, most of the time your estrogen will metabolize in the way that it is needed to be healthy. Meaning that you tend to see the improper metabolization of estrogen, which is very misunderstood. I'm not claiming to be an expert. You tend to see the improper metabolization of estrogen when someone is chronically inflamed, obese, metabolically dysfunctional, and has a very high toxic load and burden, and has a lot of excess fat that stores toxins that then affects this metabolization. My first thing would be, are you a healthy body weight? Are you metabolically healthy? Do you train? Do you exercise? Do you detox? Do you do sauna? Do you do glutathione and everything? And so that would be my recommendation. There's probably different supplements I'm sure that you could get into from there, but most people that are metabolically healthy aromatize the proper amount of estrogen, whether it's a woman that's using testosterone and estrogen or just using testosterone, and most men. That would be my recommendation. Lisa, welcome to the first live podcast. Hopefully it is all it is cracked up to be. Good morning, Diane. Dosing protocols for Sloop. Any new sites on injectable Sloop? I have tried lyophilized injectable Sloop. I did notice a benefit, but milligram for milligram, to me, it was the exact same as the oral capsule dosing. I actually think transdermal Sloop is the play here. Now, there are versions that you can get, and this show is not for sources. There are versions you can get that I have not tried that are suspended in oil. I would be more inclined to think that the Sloop suspended in oil would be more effective than the lyophilized Sloop. The reason I say the lyophilized Sloop is I think the nature of the molecule, from what I understand, it is much better carried in an oil and suspended in oil than it would be in water.
Is it because it's smaller?
I don't know. I'm not smart enough or know enough about chemistry. I will say the transdermal Sloop for me maybe even had a slight edge to the oral. And I just applied that on my traps before a workout and my forearms, and it seemed to do really well. But the injectable Sloop, I would just be careful of one sourcing, because I had a chemist make that for me, the injectable one.
Yeah.
To try it and see what it was. And I was like, it's not any better at all.
Yeah.
Maybe even slightly inferior, the one that I tried that was reconstituted backwater. But there are ones out in the wild that are suspended in oil, to which I would think that would be superior. And those are few and far between and hard to find.
I didn't feel like it did much.
The injectable? Yeah, I mean, I didn't either. And that's why I was just never really talked about it. And again, it could be
more of effect from the oral.
From the oral, yeah. And I would say even the transdermal was more effective than the oral, probably.
I think that's the future of where.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start seeing more transdermal.
Seems to be for what we have tried so far.
Yeah.
Good morning, Renee. Great to have you here. A lot of Axion Collective members in the house. Speaking of Axion, there's Katie. Free T is 11, which is concerning my practitioner, but don't feel negative effects. Is there a threshold women should generally stay below? Also balanced with progesterone and estradiol. Well, first of all, I would ask, to the point, one, what unit of measurement is that? If it's the 11 that I am thinking of, because there's different assay measurements with free testosterone. So Katie, I would ask you what the reference range is. Most likely they were saying the reference range on your test was probably like 0.5 to 2 or something. And you're at 11, to which your practitioner would now say it's concerning.
It also too depends on like, when was the last time you took your testosterone prior to getting your blood work done, because that can make a difference as well too.
Yeah. What the timing was with the injection. But
yeah,
I would say, to me, if you feel good, if you're not masculinizing, who cares what the doctor says? If you feel good and you're healthy and everything on the blood work, to my point, the question would be for the doctor, okay, what indication of that testosterone being at free testosterone at 11 is dangerous? What are we seeing that is dangerous from that? You look better, you feel better, you have more sex drive, you're happier, you're more metabolically healthy. And so that's the thing, is that when you treat lab ranges instead of symptoms, this is the game you get into. And that's what a game a lot of doctors get into, because they don't understand, is to say it's too high. Now, obviously, there's probably a point for women. Well, there is a point for women to which free testosterone would be too high. If Taylor's free testosterone was as high as mine, there would probably be some issues there.
Yeah.
She would cease to have more feminine traits. She would cease to have the things that we would say make her more of a woman. However, if her free testosterone is too low, she will also cease to have things that make her more of a woman. So obviously there's a therapeutic range, which is going to be different for everyone. But this is the problem if you go to a doctor and they literally only care about treating the lab range, because when they go back, it's like, okay, I have 100 patients. Where do they all sit? Oh, this one's high. Nope, I can't have that because I don't want to get in trouble, or whatever it is. And so to that point, I would say either just disregard what your doctor says, or if she's not going to treat you, would probably need to find a new doctor, to which Katie's in the group. So you can always message me in the group.
I would also too, like maybe next time, depending on when you took your last like dose of testosterone, I would say next time, maybe come off of it at least like 5 days prior.
Well, yeah, you
and
can
see if
also
that makes it go
manually
come off of it sooner before you get your blood drawn.
you can just manually do it, and the doctor's like, "Oh, see, you're
See it back
perfect. Your free
down.
testosterone was 2 or 3, so you're perfect, and you
Yeah.
have my stamp of approval for health," and then
Yeah.
everyone's happy, and then we just go on our merry way and do what we do.
Yeah.
So, Jacqueline says, "Currently taking Retta at 2.5 milligrams, HRT, including testosterone. Lost 30 pounds on TERS before that. Strength training regularly, getting enough protein, but my food noise is off the charts. Anything I can add?"
Hmm. Food noise is off the charts. You could either up your Retta, you could add in orforglipron. I can never say that word correctly.
Mhm.
Um, you could not a fan, you could add in CAG. Personally, I don't like CAG. 50-50 people do. You could add in CAG if you really are suffering more so from that food noise. You could also let's also look at like macro breakdown. Like, are you having food noise or are you under eating? Because there is a time period like when you go from like that much of a weight loss, you know, we then like, are you at your weight loss goal? Do we now need to like focus on putting some more muscle on? Like, there's a couple of things I feel like could be
Short retort answer is increase the Retta,
done. Mhm.
add in cagrilintide, add in orforglipron if you wanted to. You could also, this seems to be a topic of contention these days, you could also add in tirzepatide to the retatrutide, to
Mhm.
which you will be doing is skewing the balance to have more GLP and GIP than
Mhm.
glucagon. And so there's a big debate of, oh, you can't take tirzepatide with retatrutide. At the end of the day, we don't know. No one's studying right now whether you
Yeah.
take tirzepatide with retatrutide. You really just have influencers that shout and say, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. You can do whatever you want. I don't care what you do. I just want to help people figure out what the way. And if someone's on retatrutide, there's a couple options. You're 2.5 milligrams. There's a couple options. You can increase it to see if that helps with the food noise. If you're increasing the dose, or you could throw in a 2-to-1 ratio of TERS to Retta. So maybe if you put in 1 milligram of tirzepatide once a week alongside the
Mhm.
Retta, you will definitely have more appetite suppression. How do I
Yeah.
know? Because I've done that a lot and it works really well. I don't get such hunger on Retta, especially as I like up the dose. For me, Retta normalizes my appetite very well, to which I eat enough, but I don't eat too much. But if I was having food noise with Retta, because I've done this before, I would just add in like a microdose of tirzepatide. And you could do it at the same time you take Retta. You could do it on the off days or whatever. You could even do, we've talked about in our group, you could even throw in some semaglutide. So if you wanted to do like a tiny, tiny dose of semaglutide alongside the Retta, I think you could do that too. But I've used orforglipron alongside Retta. That will definitely turn off your appetite. And so we don't really know yet, but having personally experimented, I've seen to get good results from that to the effect of food noise. What's on your mind?
No?
You sure?
Mhm.
Let's see. I want to take MT1 for the first time in summer. How often do you pin it and how much? I personally do because I'm starting back my MT1. I
Mhm.
would start with 250 micrograms. That's a pretty low dose.
Yeah.
This is also dependent on the amount of melanin you have in your skin. Darker skin people need less. More pale people or lighter skinned people
Fair.
usually need a little bit more depending on your sun exposure. I like to start with 250 micrograms. If it's your first time, just do it once a week. And you can build up to 2 to 3 times per week. And then as you go from there, you can scale up the dose. Then, for instance, like if I'm in the beach in the summer, I would do 1 milligram per day. But I would build up to that because if you do
Build it
that
up 'cause
right,
it will make you
it'll make you,
nauseous.
yeah, it'll make you
And the
sick.
more often, more frequently you use it, the less that nausea goes away. It's definitely more prominent in the beginning when you first start injecting, and then I would say 3 times a week. You can use it also, it's really beneficial to use it the days that you are gonna go out and get sun exposure
Yeah.
because it will darken your skin up
Yeah.
quicker.
And I have no problem with people taking Melantan 2. I would personally start with Melantan 1 if you've never done it before because it's much more mild
Yeah,
and you can ease yourself
yeah.
into it. And then if you say, hey, I want to get darker potentially, you go to Melantan 2. But I think most Caucasian people get pretty good with Melantan 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get kind of where you want to go. Shanna says, question if you are on a GLP for health, wouldn't you want to stay on it year round? Yes, I would. I like the idea of blasting and cruising GLPs, meaning I will take up the dose depending on the goal that I have. And maybe I want to go through a fat loss goal. I will scale up the dose, sit at that dose for a while, get to where I want to go, come back down and stay on a low dose. So maybe that looks like for you, 1 milligram is your cruising dose, maybe 5 milligrams is your blast dose, and then you scale up and out of that dose. And then maybe you just take a cumulative of 6 to 8 weeks off the year. That doesn't have to be all at once. You can break that up 1 or 2 weeks off here or there. And I think from there, you get all the benefits without the downsides. Do I agree with Alex that our brains need a break? I've had such great health benefits besides the weight loss. I've maintained my weight by staying on it as well. I think it's relative to the person.
And the dosing amount. Too.
Yeah, the dosing amount. And when we were talking about this, and this gets taken out of context, when you have stuff clipped up onto social media and people love to debate it.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate because I appreciate healthy debate. What people didn't hear probably from like the short soundbite is that we were talking about the doses. And so if you have someone that's on 12 milligrams, wake up. If you have someone that's on,
I'm awake.
Taylor's yawning. If you have someone that's on 12 milligrams, they will probably, their brain isn't going to atrophy. What Alex was saying is that they will become very desensitized because they're doing a high dose for so long. And when you become desensitized, it's kind of relying on that to get where you want to go instead of cycling it through. And I think it's very important to cycle peptides. But with GLPs, we see that there's like benefits that we really want to get pretty much throughout the year. But that means we can go high, we can scale the dosing. And so Alex isn't wrong, but what we were saying is that the high dose could potentially be not damaging long term, because I think if you like, what's more damaging, someone to be on 12 milligrams of Retta or 20 plus pounds overweight? Definitely 20 plus pounds overweight. You are much more severe risk. But does that mean you want to be on 12 milligrams of Retta all the time? No, that's where you want to scale the dose. And to the point of the brain, what Alex was saying is that we need to, and I don't want to speak for him, but we were having this conversation. We need to be conscious of like what we are doing, and are we completely relying on that, and we are not taking it to lifestyle, diet, all those things in the conversation, and we're just saying, oh, I can take my Retta, I can eat whatever I want, and I'm still going to be lean.
A ton, yeah.
And to that point, if you don't use your brain, just like if you don't use your body, if you don't engage your brain in habit forming behavior and making the right choices, and you're strictly reliant on a GLP, well, I think to that point, it's kind of like saying that I'm just going to take an exercise mimetic like Mont C and not exercise. Of course you wouldn't do that. It's the same thing with GLP.
Yeah.
Michael says, briefly mentioned on the episode with Alex, Tessa, and said something about it being better to use GH. Wonder if you can share your thoughts on this topic. HGH will always be better, in my opinion, than testosterone. HGH will always be better. Now, does that mean we cannot use testosterone or ipamorelin or MK77? Of course we can use those.
Yeah.
I think those are great things to use. But I've used them all. And to me, at the right dose, I think it's very similar to, obviously there's nuances with this. I think it's very similar to the conversation about enclomiphene versus TRT.
Yeah.
Ipamorelin and testosterone are your enclomiphene and your HCGs, equivalent of the growth hormone pathway, meaning they stimulate natural production, which is obviously much better than nothing. But is that the long-term solution for the next 30 years of your life, next 50 years of your life?
Yeah.
Or is HGH going to be at the right dose?
Yeah.
It's interesting because I was talking
like liraglutide versus like using like tirzepatide, retatrutide.
Well, yeah, even more so though, because if you look at mechanistically, the peptides, similar to like enclomiphene or HCG, those are stimulating your natural testosterone production. TRT is replacing your production.
Yeah.
And HGH is like the actual hormone. So we're just giving the hormone rather than relying on this feedback loop in the body of take the peptide, it goes to the brain, stimulates the pituitary, and then that raises growth hormone. Instead of just saying, boom, here's the growth hormone, do what thou wilt with it, body. You know, and instead of relying on that whole feedback loop. And I think as we get older, the same way if a 75-year-old guy took enclomiphene, he's probably not going to respond to it the way that a 25-year-old guy would. 25-year-old guy's going to get more benefit because his whole entire body is more primed to be able to create that cascade than a 75-year-old guy or 75-year-old is obviously going to do better on TRT. I think it's very similar of a conversation, although nuanced, around growth hormone versus peptides. Both are good, but eventually everyone will likely come to the realization that growth hormone is probably where I'm going to land.
Yeah.
And then the question is, can we use those peptides cyclically or as an adjunct to the growth hormone, which I do.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
using MK777 as an alternate. Like maybe you do growth hormone in the week and then MK or Tessa on the weekends, or you do a cycle. 1 week you do a GH, the next week you do a peptide, or you play with it 8 weeks GH, 8 weeks with peptide. And so I think that can be very effective too, especially at stimulating pituitary and just keeping that feedback loop going in the body. But yeah, I think it'll always come down to the HGH is the best way. And hopefully, I think it seems like interesting now that the medical world is actually moving that way too.
Yeah.
There's crazy, there's so much data around HGH. I was talking with a friend last night via text. We were talking about heart, the heart growth on HGH. And I love having these conversations. I was like, well, here's 2 studies that actually say HGH at the right dose improves cardiac function. Not only is it not causing the heart growth at the right dose, there's actually a study that shows that heart growth in humans of HGH did not occur until chronic administration of 14 IUs per day for an extended period of time. I forget the period of time. But if you're not doing 14 IUs, meaning that at 2 to 4 IUs, you're not getting cardiac growth, you're just getting a cascade of benefits. Yeah. I don't see why peptides can't be regulated by 21 being the age limit and sell them in GNC type health stores.
Yeah.
Honestly, here's the issue too. I've always thought if peptides were not delivered via an injection, chemically, they're not different than what you see in GNC. There's more risky stuff that people are selling in GNCs, meaning that you can go buy a pre-workout and take too many scoops of it. Dude, Taylor is making the craziest face right now. Do you need to go to the bathroom or something?
No.
Taylor has checked out today, guys. It's just going to be me from here.
No, I was just thinking about taking like too much like pre-workout and the beta alanine like giving you like the tingles and the itches. Like
Taylor
I couldn't
lose her mind.
I will like that's what I was thinking about.
See, this is what I was talking about. Do you need to say this stuff? Because she'll look at me and I know that she's thinking something completely different than what I'm saying. Completely different. And I'm like, what is, like when you're like, what is, like you're like telepathically saying like, what are you, I'm like sitting here talking, like, what are you thinking? It's good. It's good. It's good pattern interrupt because I will, if I'm in a good mood, I will talk uninhibited for 4 hours. You ever seen the meme of just talking?
Yeah, I know that. I live that meme. I had the brick wall.
Like, oh, what do you think about this? And I'll just answer my own question.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I start like talking about like painting or something with the house. Like
it's like the Charlie Brown teacher.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's like, did you watch my video? No, I didn't watch your video. Because
I watch your videos more than you watch my videos.
But mine are more entertaining.
According to who?
Me. According to me, because according not to my recent viewers.
Well, I'm saying like it's different strokes for different folks. So it's like I couldn't watch reality TV. Like that would be torture to me.
Yeah.
I would rather listen to the dictionary than watch reality TV.
I don't know what we were talking about.
Well, there's a comment
like,
about,
I have no. I know.
No, about peptides.
We were talking about something the other day, and you're like, I think I was talking to you about something about with hair color, and you're like, I have no idea what you're saying right now.
Yeah, it was like Chinese.
Yeah.
She was talking about like hair product and hair color.
Yeah.
What?
Sorry.
I try though. Meaning I make an attempt to actively listen. Whether I can or not sometimes is relative to the subject matter.
Yeah. You do.
But
you do a better job than I do.
Yeah. It's also funny too, when you create content, especially if you and your wife create content, Taylor sees me every day, the whole day. And so like, she's never going to watch my stuff because she would be like, it would be like listening to your partner.
Okay. Also too, because Hunter's office is upstairs, mine's downstairs. I hear everything. Like I hear you when you're recording.
Yeah. Even with the door closed.
Even with the door closed, or it's like I hear phone calls sometimes, even with the door closed. So I hear it while you're making it. So that's why I don't have to go back and watch the video because I heard you making it.
I don't think you need to go back and watch the video though, because a lot of it's stuff we've already talked about ad infinitum. I'm just putting it in a recorded format. But to the point about stuff being at GNC, I think it's just because of the nature of it being an injection. It's like in the United States, we have this thing where if it's an injection, all of a sudden now it's bad. But you can buy insulin from Walmart without a prescription. You have to get it from behind the counter. If you can get insulin without a prescription in most states from Walmart.
Can we in North Carolina?
Yes. I can go right down the road right now, drive 10 minutes to go to Walmart, walk in and get my insulin to take pre and post workout.
Well, how come we have never tried that?
I mean, we don't need it. We still have insulin in the fridge now because we just don't use it that much. But which can be, that's a whole different conversation we talked about with Alex on the show. I mean, there's nothing wrong with insulin. Like if you use it properly, I'm not going to like go into an insulin masterclass, but why insulin is an injection and actually can be a pretty dangerous injection, but in most states you can get that behind
it's more dangerous than peptides.
You can literally, I can go buy a Novolin R pen at Walmart right now for like $60 and just tell them, I'm diabetic.
Yeah. Oh, there was a show, the show that's based in West Palm Beach that I was watching. They like poisoned one of the ladies on there by like putting insulin in her martini.
Well, if you look at, a very interesting, this is a little morbid, this is a little bit morbid, but a very interesting stat is what doctors use to commit suicide. Because if you think of a doctor, they understand mostly, hopefully, chemistry to like what would be the easiest thing to do. There's actually, I think it's like 5% use insulin because they just take it and they fall asleep and then, you do too much. Obviously, that's like a lot higher dose than like you would just do if you're intelligently using it. Meaning that like in most cases, you could get yourself in trouble, but the LD50 of insulin is pretty high. But to that point, if you can get insulin from Walmart, why can I not get TB500 from Walmart? Wouldn't the world be a better place if I could walk into Walmart? Maybe they even have like a registry of something, of like, hey, this person bought this or whatever. But I don't know, maybe in our lifetime. But it would just be kind of cool is like if you could go into Walmart, spend a few $100 and just walk out with a couple months of peptides for everything you need.
I don't really go to Walmart. Maybe Target.
Does Target have pharmacies?
Yeah, Target has pharmacies. I haven't really been to Target.
You know what's crazy about like a pharmacist? You think of like all the schooling you go to and then the nature of the job. Nothing against pharmacists, but that would suck to have to be. I feel like you're a very well qualified person for your education.
Oh, pharmacies are some of like the most like highly educated, like
that's what
intelligent people I've had conversations with in the health and wellness space. Like I would trust a pharmacist to treat me than the majority of doctors.
Well, what I'm saying is it's weird because like you go to all this school, you have like a very, very strong education background. And then the nature of what you do is like you have to be in a Walgreens. I feel like we should have more of I know that's the convenience thing. Like pharmacy should feel like almost like a wellness clinic when you get there. Meaning the experience.
I mean, there's just not that many like private owned pharmacies anymore. It used to be that way. Like
like in downtown, like in 5 Points, they have the Hayes Barton Grill and Pharmacy. Now it's just a pharmacy.
So like my original salon, the main salon that I worked at all my career, like it was originally our pharmacy back in like the 1800s.
Probably 1900s.
No, it was 18. There's paperwork.
Anyway, it would be cool if it was more like that instead of the Amazonification of it. But anyway. Oh, this is interesting. Tina says, I've struggled with bulimia my entire adult life. 65 Retta has completely removed the food noise. Interesting.
That's awesome. That's been helpful for you.
Yeah, Robert says it could make you hungrier.
Yeah. Oh, Katie knows what show I'm talking about.
Oh.
Yeah.
Say what you will. I always think reality TV people are not as smart, and then I realize.
Are they though?
I mean, they're not going to pass any IQ tests soon, seemingly. But then when you look at the nature of marketing Pretty smart.
All those husbands on that reality show I'm talking about, they're all stay-at-home parents.
Yeah.
You could be missing out. Be the stay-at-home parent.
Lisa says, how long?
You're not taking the bait.
I'm not talking about that. Taylor wants to get me in a societal critique conversation.
Well,
that's another. That's the other show. And that YouTube channel will probably get deleted faster than my other ones. How long of a break is needed on Retta if taking 0.5 milligrams to 1 milligram per week? I think it's kind of like I was saying, is probably throughout the year. I would say like 8 to 12 weeks throughout the year, non-consecutively, meaning that you break it up into like 1 to 2 weeks here or there. I think if you're doing that low of a dose, one, you're going to stay pretty sensitive to it for the long term, much more than you would be if you were doing a higher dose. But I think 8 to 12 weeks cumulatively throughout the year would be great. 56, doctor just advised me to stop HRT because bleeding after a UTI. I started HRT about 3 months ago. Are there any peptides I can use in the meantime? TRT did nothing for me, by the way. Pump 0.5 milligrams a day, too low. Well,
3 months, like that doesn't sound like that was a long enough time to stay on it, in my opinion.
Well, it was also probably a cream. And was the cream... Oh, that light battery just went dead. Sorry. Was the cream just testosterone cream? Or was it, because they do put test and estradiol in creams now. Was the bleeding after the UTI, is that like spotting, or is it just a result of the UTI?
Yeah, there's a lot of...
This is why I prefer injectable testosterone for HRT, and I'm not saying it's for everyone. I do think, though, that you can scale the dose, and I do think that it can't... A lot of women, it's not enough for. And then 0.5 milligrams a day, I think, if it was actually compounded at 0.5 milligrams a day, that's really low, because most are going to be 5 milligrams a day for women, because you're going to absorb about 10% of it. And so if it was 0.5 milligrams a day, that's really, really low. So that makes sense to me that nothing happened.
Yeah. I don't feel like there's any relation with the UTI and hormone replacement therapy, in my opinion.
It could be coincidental.
I think
it's not. It may be, or it may not be. But at the end of the day, I still think that was probably way too low of a dose.
Yeah.
To even have anything beneficial happen.
Yeah.
Here's a very good statement that I would have to agree with. ATX 304 is more effective than SLU. SLU activates a little quicker and lasts a little longer, but ATX definitely allows me to push myself harder without fatigue.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I've been saying that.
Also, too, I think the ATX studied in humans was at 1,000 milligrams a day. Most of the dosing you're going to see from people is 100 milligram capsules.
Mm-hmm.
And so I noticed outsized benefits at like 500 to 700 milligrams per day. Mm-hmm. That's where it really starts to hit. But again, that's like a quarter of the bottle in one serving.
So here's my opinion. With everybody, like with doing the high dose sloop, I think everybody got it wrong, and they should have been manufacturing higher dose ATX.
Yeah, probably like 250 or 500 milligrams.
Yes, versus making high dose sloop. Bless you.
Sorry.
Bless you.
The pollen is in full force.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have to agree with that. I think ATX is a better molecule, and I don't think you get the drawbacks of the buildup of ROS from ATX that you do from SLOOP, that potentially long term. That's why you just have to cycle SLOOP. But which GHKCU topical brand are you guys using? Unfortunately, Johnny, we cannot talk about sources. I've been trying to keep my YouTube channel and my new one and Taylor's up. So
I will be sending an email. I've sent an email out about it before, and I'm sending another email about it on probably Monday.
Yeah.
Because I talked about it in my latest YouTube video. So I'm going to send that email out.
Yeah. If I've learned anything, it's do not talk about sourcing in the public. And as much as it is annoying to hear her say, the email list is the place for that, because we can do whatever we want, at least right now. Jacqueline says, I've tried so many things for chronic constipation. Would VIP help with this or another peptide? Yeah, VIP definitely will help with constipation. I wouldn't take it at the same time, but oxytocin could also be very beneficial.
SS31 could be beneficial.
SS31 could be very beneficial.
Magnesium citrate.
Yeah, magnesium citrate. Very beneficial. Some fiber, psyllium husk. Those are good too.
This is also the same person that was taking Retta and lost 30 pounds.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so obviously too, that's probably
That could be.
the gastric emptying gets slow, but I would say
Yeah.
VIP is just good in general to take.
Yeah.
And then it will help with constipation, but oxytocin too.
Yeah.
What did we learn from first two pods with Sarah and Alex regarding peptides? I would say Sarah was more, I think, some of the basics around peptide use, just as kind of like a chemical reminder there. And I think Sarah is really good at understanding the nature of the autoimmune world and how peptides apply to that world
Yeah.
much more than I do. So that was very cool to learn
Mhm.
from her about like some of the benefits for MCAS and things
Mhm.
like that. And I think Alex was more of like what's on the frontier of what's coming.
Yeah.
And I haven't tried the new things that we were talking about on the podcast, but hopefully those become more available and easier to access. But I think with Alex, it's just always what the latest and greatest is. Can one stack Sloop and SS31? I think this is actually probably very, very, very smart to do.
Yeah.
Because like we were talking about with the buildup of oxidative stress that comes from the Sloop, the SS31 helps offset that. And so I think it would be one of those things if you're using Sloop to do Sloop during the weekdays and SS31 on the weekends, or even Sloop in the morning and then SS31 at night. Here we go. Another case study. I finally swapped off cream to daily sub-Q and Nanthate, 20 milligram injections, and wow, so much better. People demonize sub-Q, but it's great for small daily dosing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just when you see it, and I'm not going to die on a hill for either one. But when you see it time and time and time again, where people go from cream to injections, and whether it's a man or a woman, I'm guessing it's a woman because sub-Q 20 milligrams would be a man's dose. Excuse me, I'm guessing it's a man because 20 milligrams would be a man's dose. However, a woman could do the same thing at like 1 milligrams or 2 milligrams daily injections or 2 milligram every other day injections, whatever she wanted to do. I just think you get much more saturation from the injections that creates the therapeutic effect. Honestly, too, what no one talks about is probably the best thing is a combo of injections and cream, meaning that you do an injection 2 or 3 times a week and a cream every day.
Yeah.
And then you just like work out the dose to like whichever one, maybe it's a lower injection amount weekly because you're adding the cream.
Yeah.
But I do think it's just the injection, especially
for the conversion too of estradiol. The injection.
Yeah, I think you get more of a saturation of the testosterone that then converts to estradiol better. That gives you the therapeutic benefits of estradiol. And so I was on cream. I went back and forth for years, and I was like, oh, I like injections. Oh, I'll go back to cream. And I just could never get to where I wanted to with cream. But that's my opinion. I know some people do great with cream.
I'd never want to go back on cream.
Yeah. Test isocaparate. I don't like it, but that's what's out in the wild right now because there's a shortage. So I would try to get an Nanthate or SIP if you could, but it's better than nothing, but I'm not a fan. Yeah, it has to be compounded. UGL has too many preservatives and causes bigger lumps and histamines. Yeah, it depends on where you get it from, but generally speaking, that would be true.
Mm-hmm.
We answered that one about the Retta break. I haven't heard of this nasal iodine effective for the variant going around. Need to make sure I don't get immune compromised. Family member sick. Currently use iodine nasal spray in public and take TA1 as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about nasal iodine. I've gone back and forth of taking nascent iodine for years. And I've kind of been off of that because I just want to see if there was any difference. I used iodine for years daily, though. I haven't used it lately.
We haven't used it lately.
Yeah. I think it'd be good. It probably just depends on thyroid health, how deficient you are, and whatnot. But yeah, I would just say, I mean, TA1 is great. Thymolin could be another great one. Thymogen could be another great one to help with immune function. Glutathione as well. People discount glutathione, but glutathione is one of the best things to prophylactically help with immune function. Taylor, your face is glowing. It is.
Oh, thank you.
What's up, Zach? My free T is around 2, but total is very low, around 7, which is more than free total. Well, free is more important,
Mhm.
relatively speaking. But again, this comes down to a unit of measurement because if your
Mhm.
total is 7, there's no way your free is actually 2 on the scale that
Yeah.
we're talking about. Most likely it's 0.2.
Yeah.
And so I would need to see the reference range, Tina, for that. But most
Mhm.
likely, if your total is 7, your free is 2 on that range. But really, if it's the range we're talking about, to like where 3 to 5 would be therapeutic, the 2 is probably a 0.2, not an actual 2. So if you could tell
Yeah.
me the reference range, because, okay, so free testosterone is typically measured in picograms per milliliter. Some
Yeah.
tests is measured in nanograms per deciliter, but sometimes it's picograms per milliliter, but it's a direct measurement of like an HPLC MS test versus, or an LCMS test, excuse me, I'm thinking peptides. Liquid chromatography mass spectrometry test, which is more accurate. Then you have assay tests or immunoassay tests, which are more of a transient measurement that is accurate, that then gets measured at a different amount. And so the reference range is different. So you're not talking
Yes.
apples to apples. And so, for like instance, a man, they'll see a free testosterone range of like 35 to 170 for free testosterone.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, my free testosterone was 80. That's high. Oh my goodness. And it's picograms per milliliter. And then you realize that that's actually, when we're talking about therapeutic for a man, it's really 8 because it's 1 decimal place over. So it differs there. I know it's confusing, but
It is.
um, yeah, high free T picograms per milliliter is a measurement. The reference range is 0 to 4.2, which that was Katie, which is a different
Yeah.
comment. Yeah, Susan does combo of TERS and Red at microdoses. I think it works great.
Yeah.
People makes good clickbait if you say it's bad, but yeah, and then I think that's the other thing too for people that don't want to cycle off GLPs. Orforglipron is a small molecule, meaning it's not actually a peptide, but it's a small molecule GLP-1 agonist. And so if you wanted to, if you wanted to get the appetite suppression and then some of the benefits, because there's still pretty good fat loss benefits in the data from orforglipron, you just take 8 to 12 weeks off of that, use some orforglipron, then go back on, and you're going to be resensitized to the Reta because it's a completely different compound.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael, I'm going to rely on my wife for this one. Can you ease my wife's mind and let her know she can do her test, Reta, and BPC in the same window? As long as it's not in the same syringe.
Yeah, as long as it's not in the same as long as it's not in the same syringe and just rotating the injection site areas too, like maybe that might be a little bit more helpful for her to like realize, like, let's just say like, okay, even just change up and like let her do the Reta like sub Q like into her belly fat. And let's just say like most women's hips are always sore. Most cases, not always, but a lot of women have tighter hips. So just have her inject her BPC TB like into the hip area. Like that way it maybe like psychologically changes it up that it's going into a different area, but not really. And just tell her that it's okay. Or if it does really bother her, just have her do the BPC TB at night.
You don't have to take them all at the same time.
You don't have to take them all at the same time.
But
And also remember, like, testosterone is going to be IM versus everything else is going to be sub Q. In most cases, if she's doing her testosterone IM.
Yeah.
I'm just assuming that.
I prefer shallow IM for testosterone.
Yeah.
Meaning I just use a 28 gauge and I do it into the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not using like a 25 gauge into the muscle. Jacinda says, I'm taking testosterone 3 milligrams every 2 days. I also use an estrogen patch, 0.25 milligrams. My hormonal acne is killing me. I'm 29 years old. Doctors prescribed progesterone. He said I should take that 12 days a month. ?
Okay. So, I don't know fully your case and your hormone levels. I personally would stop taking the estrogen patch.
Just seems like the delivery variability across the patch is kind of wonky.
Also, that age, again, not knowing blood work, not knowing what your case study is, like that age, most women don't need estrogen at that age because your testosterone will convert enough into estradiol. And really, The progesterone should have been, in my opinion, should have been given to you when you started taking your testosterone. So, and this is just like where this is coming from, also from World Link medical team schooling, how they taught that in our course. And you should not do estradiol until you've been on therapeutic testosterone for at least 90 days and then go back and reevaluate that. You can start testosterone and progesterone, but you never want to start testosterone without progesterone, in my opinion, especially at that age. Again, I don't know what your full medical background is, so there could be something going on, because there are some cases where some women at that age do need the extra estrogen, but I think the acne is probably stemming more from that progesterone patch.
It also could be the estrogen to progesterone ratio, to which
Yes.
I think it's actually malpractice, to which I would sue a doctor if he gave a woman estrogen without progesterone.
Yeah, I agree.
That is like
Yeah.
101. You would never do that.
No.
And this is what's happened in this case.
This is, I mean,
Yeah, to the point of the
this happens
progesterone.
so much.
Yeah, to the point of the progesterone, yes, you can start taking that the latter half of the cycle,
Yeah.
day 14 through 28.
Definitely can.
But to the estradiol patch, I would, like Taylor said, I wouldn't think you would need it at that age. Right now, Taylor is, and we've been open with our fertility journey, Taylor's taking testosterone, 4 milligrams 3 times a week.
12 milligrams a week.
12 milligrams a week total.
And I'm still taking 200 milligrams.
200 milligrams of progesterone, and she's actually doing it every day.
Yes.
And she has been ovulating based on the test, which is like what we have to go off. It's like reasonably easy to measure fertility. Every single cycle, right on the money. Right now, the issue is me, because I was not using HCG and HMG for years, because that wasn't like in my purview when I started testosterone. And so I've been working on that to get it back up. And so we'll see where it goes. But if anything, right now, I would be more of the roadblock to us getting pregnant, which obviously we're working on. But I would say, to the point of a 29-year-old woman, I don't think I would not introduce an estradiol patch with the testosterone. Like you said, I would at least give it a chance. Now, there's obviously some cases where a 29-year-old woman might need to layer in estradiol after that. But the first thing I would do is the oral estradiol valerate.
Yeah, especially at that age. Like, I'm not a patch fan. The only times, this is also talking to our friends who are in the hormone replacement therapy world, the only time they even would recommend doing a patch is if it is a postmenopausal woman who has been postmenopausal for several years. We're talking women in like their like late mid 60s. Sometimes the patch is a better way to introduce that more so. And it's like, honestly, it's a lower risk license wise of clotting. That's also why they do it. But like, I would never give a woman at that age a patch.
No.
And I know for a fact that like 2 of the doctors that we know would never give a woman that age that patch either. Well, I don't think they would have given her estrogen at all. But.
That's why RxAl is going to be such a game changer for people, because when you have issues like this, you say goodbye to your doctor, and then you go to RxAl and you find a new doctor.
And I think also too, when it comes to doctors, I think it's with hormone replacement therapy, it's really important when you go in, and this is something that I know we're going to discuss more in our group, is like really making sure before you go into that appointment with your doctor, you need to come in with hand in notes. Do your research. Okay, you listen to me and Hunter, you go to your hormone replacement therapy doctor, and it's like, well, I want injections because I listen to these health gurus on the internet, and they tell me injectable testosterone is better than or than testosterone cream, or they tell me injectable estrogen is better versus like a patch, or oral is better versus a patch, or like, no, I can actually have 400 milligrams of progesterone. So when you go into your doctor, like, you need to come in, like, go in with notes, like on your phone, hard evidence. No, I want injectable testosterone as a woman because of the DHT spike that happens with cream is going to be harsher side effects. It's going to be not as consistent. Like, go in with your cases on why you want it, because then you kind of like, because if you come in kind of like, it's the same thing with hair. Like, if you come in, like, you're not going to go to your hairdresser and show her a picture of a redhead and be like, this is what I want my hair to look like. And then they're like, well, what if we add some highlights? And you sit there and go, well, just do what you want. whatever you know it's best. And then in your mind, you leave and you don't have the outcome that you want because you didn't properly communicate with the doctor. So that's what I'm saying is that there's a lot of work that you have to do, especially with hormone replacement, because one, doctors make more money off of prescribing certain things. So they are always going to push more. So not all cases. Most of the time they're going to push. If you were in limbo, like, well, I don't know, I heard injections better, but I don't know if I want to inject every day. Immediately they're going to push you, gravitating you towards the cream because they are going to financially benefit from that as well too.
Don't say that. You're revealing all the secrets. I'm just kidding.
Okay, now you get me scared. I'm going to get like canceled.
No.
All I'm saying is like come in prepared when you are going into your doctor's office.
They're going to make more money from a patch than a pill all day, every day. If it's a HRT clinic.
And I think also too, here's the thing, guys, is that there are a lot of steps, and I get it. Injecting yourself is a pain. Taking capsules every day is a pain. You know, it is.
Patch would be a pain to me.
Well, you stick it on and it's like, what patch is like good for like how many days is like good for like, is it like
I guess
4 days?
In my case, that would be good because it would be stinky.
Yeah. But I just think like, I don't know. Sorry.
Sounds like you need to make a PDF to give away to people with what to go in armed with their doctor.
Yes.
It's also too, I say this because there's a lot of doctors that I love and I know are good.
Yes.
It's kind of like people, for whatever reason, we know, like, if you go to an attorney, you know that you're going to go to an attorney and if you go to 5 attorneys, you'll get 5 different answers about what the right thing to do.
Yes.
You go to an accountant, you'll get 5 different answers about what's the right thing to do. But for whatever reason with our doctor, because of the nature of insurance and, this is my doctor or whatever, it's like, oh, well, that's what the doctor said, so that's what I got to do. It's like, no, that doctor has an opinion about what you should do. You are in charge of your health. And I say that because there's a lot of doctors I love that I know are really good, but there's also, like, doctors are just people. And even if ones are not bad, they're just gonna have a different opinion on how to do things.
Yeah.
I will say, to Taylor's point, the way to not get what you want from your doctor is probably go in and tell them that Taylor or I or some influencer you heard said, because they're just gonna roll their eyes and think that influencer didn't go to medical school, which I didn't, never claimed to go to medical school, never claimed to be a doctor.
Hey, I get that same reaction from doctors in person.
Yeah, well, it's like, it's kind of, I get it, because if you went to school and you went through all
I
that,
get it.
you don't want some person that's like coming and just appears to be some person that just yaps their mouth on the internet to tell you.
I think I learned everything from ChatGPT.
I think a lot of people could benefit
I think a lot of people could benefit from
ChatGPT. Not that it's always right, but I'm just saying that's better than not doing anything other than just repeating what you've been told, and not listening to feedback from people, and actually like going to learn stuff. I'm not saying it's always what AI says is always right, but it's also too, like, be open-minded if you're a practitioner. And really good doctors will tell you, like the really good ones say, I'm gonna listen to my patient, tell me what they're experiencing and what they want. And yeah, if they're telling me like I need, something that's bad for them, I'm not going to do that. But if there's like a difference of opinion of like the delivery mechanism of the same thing, why would you not listen? So, but just saying, like, that's why it'd be better to have like a document that we could make that people could take in and be like, well,
I've made a document
Taylor said this
for somebody.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways, sorry. That was my rant.
No, I think it was good. My son, I've been giving him the Ipamorelin HGH, and his acne is so bad, but he wears the catcher's mask. Oh, this is Christy.
Yeah.
Christy, have you tried the topical ivermectin for him? I'd be interested to see how that does.
Yeah.
Especially given the nature. I mean, if anybody had acne as a teenager, I was like candidate number 1 from wearing a football helmet. I used to take these Clorox wipes to the locker room and like try to wipe my football helmet before and after. I don't think it did anything. I know it didn't do anything. I'll try the topical ivermectin.
Yeah.
But obviously, too, the sweat is not going to be helping.
Yeah. Especially the catcher's mask.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was a catcher. I didn't text her.
Yeah. Quit Retta because the glucagon made me hungry. Went back to SEMA because I'm at a weight profile where my body naturally protects the benefits and signals of GLP-2. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I think a lot of people poop that. It's like, oh, you gotta have Retta.
No, like some people do better. Like I still have people that love semaglutide.
Yeah. What's up, Kelly? She said the cardiologist we interviewed, we were talking about growth hormone. He was speaking of it, and we didn't really go into this just because we were limited on time. I only was able to talk to him for like an hour. He was really referencing more of like the abuse of growth hormone.
Oh, she said you did answer the question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. More of the abuse of growth hormone than like the appropriate dose.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, a lot of people will get higher IGF, which we use as a proxy, from tesamorelin than they will 2 IUs of HGH. And we don't see any issues with HGH. Obviously, a 2 IUs of growth hormone, less studied, but nonetheless. And so, yes, we were referencing the abuse of growth hormone, which we could all agree that abuse of anything would be bad. I want to start my wife on Tessa and Ipa. What is a good dose for her? It's not a blend.
Also, hang on.
Yep. You skipped this one. This one?
Yeah, that one. It's not from the testosterone being too high. Sorry.
I
mean, it was for that the person that was on the 29-year-old.
Oh, your bad acne could be your testosterone dose being too high for a female. I mean,
there's also okay, again, how long have you been on it? Like, again, you got to get 9 days. It can take up to like 6 months for hormonal changes to come out in the hair, come out in the skin. That's like when people say, I started injecting testosterone. 4 weeks later, my hair's falling out. It's not the testosterone. When it comes to the hair and the skin, it takes up to minimum, not like 3 months, up to 6 months for stress to come out in the hair and in the body.
What about this though? If you have someone that's had 0 testosterone, women are very androgen sensitive. And so a slight change
is going to make a difference. Yes.
0 to 1 is a lot more than 9 to 10.
Yeah.
And so
again, you have to give it time for it to regulate. It doesn't matter if you go out right now and you go eat Bojangles, eat a bunch of fried chicken and French fries and drink some sweet tea along with it and eat some banana pudding afterwards. Like, you're going to get acne from all that food. Like, from all that
acne would be the least of my worries after that.
Well, yeah, but it's going to come out. Like, it's just, I feel like it's always blamed on like the testosterone.
Well, it's a valid point.
It's a valid point, but it's like you've got to give your body time to adjust.
Yes, and I would also say there's conflicting variables too with estradiol and progesterone. It's not just testosterone.
No.
And then it's also testosterone conversion.
Yeah.
How much is it converting to DHT? How lean is the person?
Yeah.
They're leaner, they're going to aromatize less. And so it's a very nuanced thing around testosterone. Interestingly, for
also too, like let's also think about this too. Like, acne sucks. Guess what? I get some facial hair. Like, I get like 3 dark hairs on my chin. I got that prior to using testosterone therapy. That's a pain. Yes. Is it enough? I had really bad acne at one point. You guys all saw those YouTube videos. How do you feel mentally though? Like, that is a more important question. Like, I would rather have to deal with that than feeling like my brain is going like this because I hormonally can't think. And I just feel like I'm in a fog and a haze.
Yeah, I feel bad when I see people's blood work that's like they have no hormones. I'm not a woman, but I know what I felt like with no hormones. You literally feel like your brain is in a vice. And then you don't realize that till you get it fixed. And you're like, oh my goodness. Like, I was literally going through life where I was like, felt like everything was just, the walls were like crumbling around me. And you get your hormones fixed and a lot of that goes away. But yeah.
Because I'm awake now.
You are awake.
I'm awake now.
You just needed someone to stoke the fire a little bit. Yeah,
and it's also where a woman's getting prescribed hormones in a way that I don't agree with it. That will get me fired up.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too, there's so many ways to approach it, and that we would have like methodologies that we've seen work with people, but that doesn't mean that it's always going to work for everyone.
No, that doesn't mean it always.
But I think if you say there's parameters with gin, 80 to 90% of people respond best. I feel comfortable saying
there's there are still some women that do respond better to cream. I will get that. Every individual is going to be different, but I still think it's there's some women that can't take progesterone every day. I love taking progesterone every day. If I don't take it every day, I'm a complete bitch to deal with. I know that.
Let the record state that Taylor said when she doesn't take her progesterone. She is, well, there you have it. I didn't say it, but yeah, I think it's too, we get fired up because if you knew how to help someone and they wanted help, and then you told them how to fix their problem, or like with reasonable certainty, like how they could fix their problem, and then they tell you that it's wrong or that it doesn't work, in a way, it's like, okay, well, maybe like what I told them wasn't right, or maybe like they're not doing it right. And so I think sometimes it's like, well, if this could be improved, it would probably be better. Um, but anyway, so those are my thoughts. I want to start my wife on test. Did we answer this? No, because we went back to that. I want to start my wife on test and IPA. What is a good dose for her? It's not a blend. I would say for a woman, if you're going to do the blend of those, probably start low if she's never done them. I do 300 micrograms of Tessa to 100 micrograms of IPA. And I would do that once per day. And then you can kind of scale up from there. I would say you would probably want the total exposure to be under one milligram. So you could go to like 600 micrograms of Tessa and what would that be? 200 micrograms of IPA per day would be like the top end, but I would start with 300 to 100 Tessa to IPA and go from there. Echo 3.6. I love saying Echo, which I know Echo 3.6 is in our group. I feel like I'm like, it's like a code name, like Echo 3.6 over. He says, can you talk about the mechanics between pituitary GH release, strength, duration, timing, and how thyroid health can interact with GH secretagogue use over time? It's actually a very good question, to which I probably don't talk about enough, to which whether it's HGH secretagogues or it's HGH itself, here's what happens. HGH optimized GH levels, which lead to optimized IGF-1 levels, which lead to lots of benefits to the body. What you start to see over time is an improvement in the conversion of T4 to T3. And when we look at the benefit of, or if we could have one indicator of thyroid health, even though there's multiple, it would be our free T3. And what happens is the body makes T4, and a lot of that gets converted into T3, which then gets used to get all the metabolic benefits of thyroid health. One particular being clearance of LDL particles to improve cholesterol. But nonetheless, with optimized GH levels, we improve thyroid health because we improve the conversion of T4 to T3. And so when you see someone that has very low IGF-1 or low GH or low hormones, a lot of times you'll see a higher T4 number and a lower T3 number. And what that means is the body is cranking, one, it cranks TSH, and then it'll also crank T4, and it can't convert the T4 into T3. And that's why giving someone T4 doesn't really matter, because it's not the form that is more usable, metabolically speaking, to get the benefits. And so one of the beautiful byproducts of using HGH or a GH peptide is that you get this improvement in conversion of T4 to T3. You also get regrowth of the thymic gland, which is different than the thyroid, but it improves your immune system. But that improvement in conversion confers more metabolic benefits, to which you will stay leaner, you will have more energy, and you will just ultimately be healthier. So that is a really good benefit and a very, very prescient point. Thank you, Echo 36. Echo 36. Yeah. I've been on 10 milligrams of Retta for a few weeks now, lost 70 pounds in 10 months. Congrats. Need to lose 50 more, but want to avoid desensitization, as Alex explained. What dose and what other GLP-1 do you recommend? Okay, here's an interesting, I'm not even saying like, if you need to lose 50 more pounds, I don't know that you necessarily need to come down on the dose. You could throw in other peptides. You could make sure your hormones are optimized. You can make sure your thyroid is optimized. But I don't know that you need to change the dose now. You need to get to where you want to be. And I get the desensitization, but we're talking about, even if it's like a 1 to 2 year window, I'd personally, the question I would ask myself is this: is it more dangerous to be 50 pounds overweight or to be desensitized to the Retta? To me, the answer is to get the fat off the body in the best, healthiest manner. And sometimes that means being on a higher dose of Retta. And so if you were like 10 pounds within your goal, I'd say, oh yeah, you'd like probably like, let's bring it down. Let's cruise for a little bit and go from there. But I don't know. That would be my opinion, is because like, if someone needs to lose 50 pounds, the 50 pounds is more of a threat to their health than the desensitization, to which then when you get to where you need to go, which it sounds like you have the really good momentum because you've been doing the work.
Yeah.
Then we reevaluate once we get to where we need to go, and then we can start to like bring it down, go off, and then go from there. But I don't know. That would be my probably unpopular opinion to like the traditional dogma, which is cycle on, cycle off, is I would say, I don't know. It's kind of like if your leg is broken, what's better to use BPC until it's healed or to cycle off just because it's been 8 weeks?
Mhm. Also would consider maybe also adding in LDN.
Oh, I would say that
Like
for everyone.
for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
But definitely, especially in this case study for the amount of weight, there's also probably like healing from a lot of inflammatory issues. That also will help too.
Yeah.
With desensitization.
Yeah. A lot of people too, when they lose weight, there's kind of this like residual backlog of inflammation.
Mhm.
And LDN helps with that. Glutathione will help a lot
Yeah.
with that. And so you gotta, what's great is that someone's doing that, especially with Retta, is peeling off liver fat, which is really, really good. But
Mhm.
also too, I think there's this kind of like background inflammation that has been built up over time that's like needs to be helped cleared. There's like glutathione, SS31
Yeah.
can come in and do really well. You got the Palm Beach ladies are off the charts. Is that the show you were watching?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I love that she knew that.
Let's see.
Love that.
I'm just going through a really good conversation this morning. Yeah, insulin could definitely be deadly if you take too much.
Yeah.
But I was saying to the point, if that is available over the counter, why could we not have Motzi over the counter?
Did you see Echo's nice comment about you and Alex?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I agree with that.
Yeah, it's just when it comes to doctors, like I would never claim that I'm a doctor. If there's one thing I know, and I'm not saying this as a virtue signal, every day I get up and there's so much more that I don't know. Every day, the amount that I don't know vastly exceeds the amount that I do know. And my job is just learn as much as possible and then share back with people in order to help them. And so I will never claim really to know more, because it's just, if anything, I'm like, man, there's so much I don't know. And there's so much we got to learn. And there's so much too that like we depend on you guys for feedback to be able to inform us of like, oh, see, that's the whole thing. You go back to the injectable testosterone conversation. That was literally an experiment we did on our own with you. And you responded better. And we're like, okay, maybe this will be better for other people. At that point in time, women's hormones, it was like this whack-a-mole game of you like do one thing. No, just generally speaking with like the people that we coach.
You should write a book on how to hack the crazy out of your wife.
How to manipulate and control your wife with hormonal intervention to get what you want. Are you not happier?
I am happier, so it worked.
It worked.
It worked.
No, but I think it was in my experience prior to that, coaching with women, especially around their hormone piece, a lot of times I just want to kind of like back off and be like, hey, I don't really know women's hormones that well, because it was always like the cream is too high, the cream is too low, estradiol's too low. I can't get the right amount.
I'll say this. I feel like since we've been together, your knowledge for women's hormones has expanded so much, and I feel like you have more compassion for women now.
Yeah.
Opposed to like when we first started dating.
Yeah, I would say.
You definitely.
So.
Yeah.
It's not that it was like,
you weren't like bad, or you'd make comments sometimes, and me and your mom would look at each other like. Okay.
I guess
that's probably why I always said like, I'll just wait. We'll probably have girls. Like it'll backfire on them, but maybe not, because you changed.
I would be ecstatic to have a girl, but I would say you have more karmic debt to pay of having a son than I would have having a daughter.
You asked my mom that question when she's this weekend when they're here.
What do you mean?
The karmic debt, like.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that I think
up, my mom's like, I just cannot wait till you have a daughter. Like as a teenager, I was terrible. I was a terrible teenager.
But maybe that's just more of what.
Well, not terrible. There's definitely worse because like I was not like.
What I'm saying is
not fun to deal with as a teenager.
A lot of guys have what I would call karmic debt because they are disrespectful.
So what do you think my karmic debt is for having
all the things of like a guy of like stinky clothes and things like that? that a boy is like naturally going to do because you grew up with all girls.
Yeah, I
Meaning
grew up
that
with all
like
girls.
the things that like boys just do being boys is like your karmic debt is coming due to like have that. Whereas like the things that like girls being girls, I would be ecstatic to have a girl, but I think the guys that have karmic debt with girls is because they were so I think in a lot of cases were so disrespectful towards women. That's why you always see like a
That's
womanizer.
true.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
he's got 3 daughters because it's like time to pay. Like you were
Yeah.
disrespectful to women your whole life. And I will say I'm not a saint by any means. I've been
you were definitely more of a saint out of the two of us.
well,
Yeah.
respectful to women in
Yeah.
my life. If anything,
Yeah.
I was more of like what they would call in the red pill world, like an incel, you know,
Mhm.
stands for involuntary celibate. It's like you're kind of like, you know, a nerd, like off on your own, doing your own thing, more so than a womanizer.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's why I say like you probably have a little bit more in that department. I'm not what I'm saying is I'm not a guy that you would be like, oh, that guy, he's gonna have daughters because of what he did to women.
I just
I'm
think
not
of
that.
I just think of like a daughter with like, which I'm intelligent too, but your level of intelligence,
Yeah, that would be my
your
karmic
level
debt.
of intelligence, but then like my attitude and sass is
That would
gonna
be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she will use back everything I say and I'll be like, she kind of has a point. So I can already see that happening. Kind of got a point there. So like she'll probably like outlogic me way
Yeah.
before I'm comfortable
Yeah.
with her outlogicking.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got on that, but
I don't know how I got on that either.
Let's see.
Entertainment for you.
Question about LDN. Hopefully this is people are probably like, shut up, dude. Does LDN lessen the effect of peptides while on it? If so, does doing the peptide in the morning and LDN at night? I would actually say the opposite.
Yes.
Meaning that LDN acts as an immune system modulator, meaning that it will enhance your receptivity and sensitivity to most peptides. As you stay on a peptide, you will notice that you get less desensitized to it over time with LDN. That doesn't mean you won't, but you just stay more sensitive to peptides with LDN than with not. But I would say it doesn't really matter like on the timing of the day that you take it. So like if you took your LDN in the morning and you took your Retta in the morning, you're not gonna be like more sensitive to that day to Retta. It's more of a cumulative thing over time. Whereas like you wouldn't say like, oh, don't take the LDN in the morning because it's gonna make your response like you're gonna get more nauseous from your melanotan if you take it with your LDN. It wouldn't be so much that, it would be more like cumulative effect of like over time, how are you responding to the peptide?
Yeah.
And how much is your body desensitized to it? But I don't think it matters. And some people, I'd say 80% of people do better with LDN at night, 20% probably do better in the morning, is my experience. Teresa says, what is the best peptide for postmenopause? I'm not on HRT. My symptoms I don't feel are that bad, but I worry about health issues.
Then BHRT is your answer. If health, like let's just say symptom wise, you feel fine, but you're worried about health issues in the future, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is going to be your foundation where you need to start. That is going to give you the most protection for cognitive, bone density, cardiovascular density, brain as well too. So that is actually, even though you might not feel like you have symptoms, that's going to be your foundation where you need to start, and then you can add in peptides from there. So that's my answer.
Yeah, I would actually say so to the point, Teresa, about health issues. If a woman does not have testosterone, estradiol, and progesterone, to which most postmenopausal women, no matter how hard they work, it's going to be zero.
Yeah,
that is a health emergency to me because the cumulative effect of that over time is going to be so damaging just to your metabolic health and eventually your brain health and your vascular health. That is a health crisis. So if you do not have testosterone and progesterone and estradiol, you're in a health crisis. And that's why it's like, yeah, peptides are good. Sure, a postmenopausal woman, she's got a tire belly and takes Retta, she's probably going to lose some weight. Of course, it does not fix the root of the issue, which is that you need those hormones for your health. And the thing with postmenopausal women,
you might not realize you're having any negative side effects too.
Well, that's what I was talking about earlier, is that like a lot of people normalize to whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
And so it's like nothing's wrong with me per se until they realize it. To which point I would say this, like, let's say you go in and nothing feels wrong, but your HSCRP is really high, like a 10. Nothing feels wrong with me. If that happened to me, I'd be like, shoot, something is wrong here. I got to go figure
Mhm.
out what it is, even if I don't feel anything, because something is going on underneath the hood.
Yeah.
Now, if it's like, something that's like benign, like meaning that, like, say your HRCRP was like 1.5, I feel fine. Okay, like, yeah, it's 1.5. It's a little bit higher than a
Mhm.
1, but it's not bad. Versus like a 10, something is going on there. Or like, let's say you went in, got your blood work done, you feel fine, and your white blood cell count is off the charts. That is indicative that something is wrong. Even if you don't feel it, something is wrong there that is going to come due. Like, you're going to pay the piper. And I would say that is the same thing for hormones. It might not be as immediate as like some of those things we just talked about,
Yeah.
but it's still, to me, that's like a health emergency for someone when they don't have hormones, because hormones are your life. Like, you have to have your hormones to function good, especially a postmenopausal woman. Like a 72-year-old guy can get away with low testosterone.
Mhm.
He's not going to be as healthy, but like he can saunter through life. Whereas like a woman is just she's gonna be in a default state of suffering,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Kelly says, I was just out in NM with my son and his wife shooting a reality show for Discovery Channel. Wow, that's
Wow,
crazy.
that sounds really cool, Kelly. You'll have to send that to me
Yeah.
when that comes out.
44-year-old male, 220 milligrams of test for 8 months now, sub 10% body fat. I've been getting some cystic acne once a month-ish. Any thoughts? I mean, it could be anything. I'm like we were talking about earlier, like I'm not gonna like jump and say like, oh, it's the testosterone. You got to fix the testosterone. Um, I would like estradiol's a factor too. Are you using other things? Like, is it, for me, I got bad cystic acne, I realized, from using genotropin, and I realized that I'm probably just allergic to one of the excipients in the genotropin, and it was causing me acne, and other forms of growth hormone didn't do that, so I just stopped using it, and I've not really had an issue with acne since then. So it may be that, it may not be, but also too, again, like I've mentioned, the ivermectin horse paste, if you apply that topically,
Mhm.
does seem to help a lot with that. My dad's been struggling with gout for a few years and nothing. Doctors prescribe help. Do you guys have any knowledge of what can be useful for flare-ups or just control in general? I would always default. I mean, this isn't like a
Diet.
yeah, well, like gout is always like downstream from
I have gout.
metabolic dysfunction and insulin resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say like uric acid or whatever, but I would also say that that's probably from, is it overuse of alcohol? Is it, like too much bad food? Is it a combo of both? And so I think someone with a GLP and metformin and SGLT2,
Mhm.
after 3 months of that, gout will go away.
Yeah.
Obviously, the hormones are going to be important too, because that relates to our metabolic
SS31
health.
too.
Yeah, SS31.
Yeah.
SS31, Retta, SGLT2, metformin.
Yeah.
Within 4 months, I think you would pretty much solve any gout problem. Assuming that they are trying, meaning that they're trying to eat healthy.
Yeah.
You're going to be drinking 6 glasses of wine a night.
Wine will definitely trigger gout.
Yeah.
More so than any of the other alcohols.
Yeah.
Stress also not being in line.
Yeah.
The body. D1 too.
Been playing around with Testogen for a couple months, maybe taking it 2 times per week. I just had my labs ran for TRT, and my total that average is 1100, was 1500, just putting out there. Very helpful. And that makes sense because it's kind of, I think it's like working pretty similar to HCG, maybe with a little bit more effect on the thyroid. So yeah, it is good. I've seen people that take Testogen, it doesn't really do anything. And I've seen people that have taken it and it does something. For me, like I felt probably like a little bit of benefit. But I would say, it wasn't anything that I noticed, and it didn't really do anything for fertility purposes. But I did want to try that to see like, okay, what was it doing? And didn't really seem to do anything for that. But that being said, I think Testogen could probably be for like a guy in his 20s that doesn't want to start TRT. It's too early.
Yeah.
The guy that's 2021 can absolutely use Testogen and probably get a benefit.
Yeah.
Testogen and L-carnitine could be like a way to like help bridge the gap for someone that is gonna get like do TRT one day, but maybe they don't want to do it right away. Will VIP help with Raynaud's or anything else? I think it will. I think with Raynaud's, you look at it as a blood flow issue. BIP could help. BPC, TB500, ARA290 could help. Really anything that's going to help with that. I would actually have, even if it's a woman, do low dose Cialis to help with that as well. What would I do if I couldn't get GH? I'd probably just use MK777 or ipamorelin and tesamorelin and just cycle between those.
Cycle those.
Yeah. What's up, Issa? Another member of the group. She said, change from pellets to IRM TRT, and wow, did my life change. Also increased my progesterone for 200, 300. My sleep improved so much. There you have it.
Awesome.
Proof is in the pudding.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that, Issa.
Thank you.
I think it's just important for like people to see that. There's not
not
just like pulling that out of my butt.
Especially with the progesterone, because like so many people don't realize that like progesterone is treated by symptom release. So like relief until you see those symptoms start relieving, increase the progesterone. You don't have to worry about looking at like a number scale where you're at blood work wise, like with progesterone, unless you're like fertility, premenopausal, different case study, but if you're postmenopausal, you're not worried about fertility, have at it.
Yeah, peptide for lost skin. Unfortunately, that's going to have to be cosmetic surgery for most people. It's not a peptide.
I know.
Will help with that. Just because the extra skin is there. Wendy, I would not worry about being able to get HGH any more than I would be worried about being able to get peptides. So, guys, FLGR242, don't know anything about it. Don't plan on using it. So there's a few questions about that.
If we don't talk about it, it's because we don't.
Only thing I'm going to say is if I don't talk about something,
there's a reason.
It's important for me to not talk. Whatever I don't say matters as much as what I do say.
Yes. We're not being rude.
And I'm not saying that in like any sort. I'm just saying whatever I don't say is as important as what I do say.
Yeah.
Read that you should be off MOT CRSS 31 for a month before running FOXO4. Is that true? Never heard of that, nor do I see why that would be true. People also don't think, for whatever reason, with FOXO4, they think you can't take other peptides. I don't know why they think that. I've never seen any evidence for that. I've used peptides when I take FOXO4, so I don't know why that is. But no, that shouldn't be an issue at all. Thoughts on Kysotrex? I think it's better than nothing, but I don't think it's a long-term solution to get therapeutic levels. And also, too, people think like Kysotrex is this like unicorn, like, oh, you can take Kysotrex, it's going to increase your testosterone, but it's not going to it's still going to have a suppressive feedback loop. It's still going to like have not as strong as injectable, but it's still going to shut down your natural production slightly. It's still going to suppress fertility slightly. It's going to be as bad as injectable? No. But it's not like a free ride. I mean, it's a free ride for the company that makes it, because they can charge a lot for it, because in most cases it's like $800 to $1,000 per month. But no, I'm not a fan of it. But I mean, again, it's like, is it better than nothing? Yeah, of course. But it's like, why would I pay more for something that's going to get me worse results? If that makes sense. But again, people get mad when it's like why are you hating on Kysotrex? I'm not hating on Kysotrex, but it's like saying, like, why would I use something that's inferior to what I know is superior that also costs more? That doesn't. What I'm saying is, like, a lot of people think it's a free ride. It's not. Like, there is still the things that we would say are side effects from TRT. You still get that, just maybe not at the same level that you would. Did 6-month checkup with my primary test was 1366. Doc thinks it's too high. DHT was 104. What does that mean? Also, TSH low at 0.356. Unretta and tesamorelin, does that affect TSH? So, my opinion, not a doctor. Test at 1366, not too high. DHT at 104, not too high. Basically, that's just the level of amount that your body's turning the testosterone into DHT. But it's just the levels of DHT, but that's what that is. Not too high. TSH is low at 0.1 or 0.356. Usually you'll see this in people using desiccated thyroid or a synthetic form of thyroid. When the body's getting exogenous thyroid, it doesn't need to crank out TSH now. And so typically the TSH will go down. And so as long as you're using exogenous form of thyroid, that's fine to me. If it was high, what that would be saying is that your body's trying to produce TSH to turn into thyroid and it's not working. And so it keeps pressing and pressing to make TSH. And then it goes from there. But I don't necessarily see that an issue if you're using desiccated thyroid. But no, those numbers are not too high for me. And then testosterone, like we talked about earlier, by helping with the conversion of T4 to T3, that may lower your TSH, which I don't think is a bad thing. Your body's just saying like, oh, I'm more efficient now, so I don't need to crank out as much. Free was 2 picograms per milliliter. The reference range was 0.1 to 6.4, and total was 7. Interesting. I would still say that's way too low.
Yeah.
Down 40 pounds, 32% BF to 19% BF. Good for you. Hey, we didn't do the work, man. We do what we do, but you guys are the ones that did the work. It's a good question. What AI tool do I find most effective for our biohacking world and medical research? I've used ChatGPT a lot in the past. I've been moving a lot lately to Claude because Claude seems to have much more of a contextual understanding of what I'm searching for. So if I say like I need a report with medical literature citations around this topic, GPT seems more like a robot in the response I get, whereas Claude is almost more like a human and it understands contextually, oh, I'm looking for studies around growth hormone and cardiac growth. Here's what he's asking for. Here's the medical literature that reflects that. Whereas GPT can do that, but it's just kind of like a robot gave it back to you, whereas Claude is more like a human. And so I'm a big fan of using those for research to elucidate and to inform what I'm doing, but I don't just like completely rely on those. And you also too don't want to get in a game of just being like, oh, what is the dose of this? And it just spits out something that's just pulling off the internet. And that's so different than like a Google search. So, but Claude seems to be, I would say Claude and Manus, MANUS right now. I'm just kind of like reeling at the implications of what they're going to do to the nature of work and the nature of the economy, and how we use those. But I would say Claude, because I pay for the premium versions of all those, seems to be better right now contextually for research. But you also kind of have to like get it going, and you have to like make it understand who you are and make it understand like what you're looking for, before it really gets good at it. After strength training sessions, my tennis elbow and SI joint is on fire. I'm currently injecting BPC. Any other peptides and suggestions to inject pre or post workout? Cardilax all day. So I'd say 1 to 2 milligrams of Cardilax. TB500, obviously. Everyone knows CLO, which is KPV, GHK, BPC, and TB500, which are great, but I think people sleep on Cardilax and PEG, MGF for how good those are. Taking estrogen because my hot flashes at night sweats are crazy and I wake up so much at night. Interesting.
I don't think estrogen is the end all be all for that.
Robert says take half of 25 milligram of SGLT2, trying to determine if a full dose of 25 milligram. I've done both. I don't think I take 25 milligrams of Jardiance and it's fine. Meaning like, I don't think it necessarily is too strong, but you could probably say that a healthy person gets the good dose at 12 milligrams. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's like, it's bad to take the 25 milligrams.
Progesterone helped me a lot with the night sweats.
Prior to well, I mean, if someone doesn't have progesterone and, like that potentially could be an issue too. Yeah. Robert, I mean, if you feel good at 12 milligrams and everything is good, that's fine. I feel like there's not really that much of a difference is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it probably is better to take 12 milligrams. Save half the money because it's not cheap.
Instagram gods are watching.
They're always watching. Smite us down. How do you feel about taking telmisartan and hydrochlorothiazide combination to help with water retention with raking or taking 8 to 10 plus IUs of GH?
I accidentally took telmisartan before a pre-workout.
I mean, it just lowers your blood pressure. I don't know that it would
I didn't really.
best.
I mean,
Cialis would be better pre-workout. But
well, yeah, I didn't mean to take it. I thought it was. I thought it was Dada. I grabbed the wrong
I'm not
thing,
a fan of like the diuretics. So, like, I think you could get the benefit just from telmisartan instead of the hydrochlorothiazide, but, like, if you're taking that a lot of GH, like, is there a use case for that? Maybe, maybe not. But I definitely think telmisartan. So I would start there and then see if you need the diuretic.
Yeah.
But, yeah, because you will get water retention from that much GH, especially depending on where it's from.
Mhm.
Was on Retta 2 milligrams and was working. Got a bad flu, so I stopped and now back on Retta and up to 5 milligrams. But it feels like it's not working. No appetite suppression at all. Zero weight loss. What do I do? I mean, that's a tough question to answer because, like, I don't know enough about you. I don't know your hormones. I don't know what else you're taking, like what other peptides there are. Maybe it's not a Retta thing. Maybe it's a hormone and a thyroid and that type of thing. So, it's kind of like saying, like, are you going to overfill the gas tank? Is that what's going to make your car better, or do you need to fix a flat tire? And sometimes you got to fix a flat tire instead of putting more gas in the gas tank. So yeah, I would just say, I mean, if you want to, you can put in the chat like what else you're doing and stuff. But if it's a hormone issue, like rarely is Retta, just escalating the dose of Retta, going to be the best thing. And then also too, you have to realize too that we're gonna like desensitize ourselves the higher the dose. And so like sometimes taking down the dose or going something on something else could be better.
Mhm.
Yeah. Gene says I just do whatever the opposite of my doctor. Yeah, ivermectin works great for acne, especially the one at Tractor Supply, the paste, and that's where you can get it from. You can also get it off Amazon too. It's pretty easy to find on Amazon now. Making us hungry with some Bojangles talk. You have to be from the South.
Yeah, I have to be from the South and know that.
Yeah. Would a peptide or HRT cause night sweats? I get them about every 2 hours into my sleep, and they last a few hours before, or been happening for 5 months now. I mean, potentially could. Usually it's going to be the opposite. Yeah. But it just depends on the person.
Yeah.
Does one really need to filter peptides?
No, I've never filtered.
It's a good way
I've
to
never filtered a
confuse
peptide.
and scare people, but like in most cases, no. Is it bad? No.
No.
Never had an issue.
So that like needed that
Yeah,
cap
it's
thing
like a
came. I was like,
syringe.
what is
Yeah,
this?
I mean, listen, if it makes you feel better, it's kind of like, it's kind of like if you have filtered water, do you still need to do we need to filter our Mountain Valley water through a reverse osmosis? I mean, it's
probably
maybe.
But
I think it does fine. I know.
It's going to take more than minerals.
They test Mountain Valley, and it's probably like poison.
We did hear that Mountain Valley didn't come back good testing.
I mean, like, what point do we what can you actually drink anymore from a water standpoint?
My bread comes out better when I use Mountain Valley water to make my bread. So
like it's the minerals.
Well, yeah.
Like it has minerals.
The rice comes out better too.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on high SHBG and normal free T? In the case of a woman, it could be a lot of things. Like it could have something to do with thyroid. It could have something to do with your metabolic health, like your weight, like how much body fat you have. So we did a presentation on this inside of our group. For the people that are in our group, you can go back and watch that. But yeah, it just kind of depends on the person. Obviously, you want SHBG to be normal.
Did you see the comment right underneath that?
Recently increased T and doctor added T3 for thyroid labs came back. It could be. Yeah, it could be from the T3 that's doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa. I mean, everyone's going to have an ego, but my goal is to like not have an ego, just be a normal person, and I just like helping people with this. Like I just like doing what I do, and that's me. But the goal is to not have an ego and then just help other people.
I think sometimes your downfall is that you don't have enough of an ego sometimes.
Well,
in the past.
Are you just stroking my ego?
No.
No. Probably, yeah. In the past. Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah.
And just let people run over you. But
yeah. Not anymore though.
I'm on enclomiphene and have dutasteride should acne surface, but I'm fortunate that none has surfaced 7 weeks. Yeah, I would not use the dutasteride personally. Do what thou will, but I wouldn't. Yeah. Christy said zero brain without injectable testosterone. It's crazy. Like if women just knew what it was like for their brain, even take all the other benefits off just for the brain health alone. Of like, what it would do.
Yeah.
Love combining NAD+, vitamin C, glutathione, alpha-lipoic acid, methylene blue with full body red light therapy to clear inflammation. Bam.
Yeah.
There you go. You do that like in an hour, you'll be like ready to run through a wall. Thank you, Christy. Yeah, we did a thyroid presentation in the group.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now I made it easier to like, I set up a little website for people in the groups. They don't have to like go through the feed just to like watch all the presentations. Then when I did that yesterday, I realized that all of the ones were password protected. So even when they clicked on the link inside of the library website, so I had to manually go in and turn the password off from Zoom, not from the website, from Zoom. But now it works. So anybody can go back. I'm 50, had my last child in my 40s, then started HRT. It's the best. I will take it. Yep. Can you tell me what Sloop do for you, how you felt? I mean, it just basically is going to like increase energy, help with body composition, help with a lot of things. I've got a lot of videos on Sloop. I don't need to take up everyone's time talking about Sloop. Is HGH, I think Kelly means 191 amino acids, the same as somatropin, so much less money. So I questioned it. I don't know, Kelly. You can send us a message. I don't know specifically. I mean, that's like saying is like BPC 15 amino acid different than BPC? Or, it's like, well, no, but there is like people do like make lesser forms of growth hormone.
Yeah.
What peptides did you think would work best for mold detox? I've been doing BPC, TB500, cerebroneurogen, and CJC. GHK, still have a lot of brain fog and very fatigue. I mean, definitely doesn't sound like you have like any immune peptides right now.
Yeah.
So like thymus alpha 1,
VIP,
thymolin, KPV. If you've got the mold out, VIP, LL37, those would all be things that I would default to. I have a video we look up on like Spotify or iTunes. It's within the last 6 months. I don't remember what date. It's just like a peptide stack for mold. So seems like Health and Fitness Twitter has gone from TRT being great for body recomp to TRT plus for some form of anabolic being the only way to hit goals. Thoughts there are vilified offline. I don't think that's bad. Like I have no problem with TRT plus or even running cycles to get muscle and then coming back down to TRT. It's just a trade-off, it's just like, it's like exercise. The right amount of exercise is good. If you do too much exercise, eventually you're going to pay the price. And so the question is just like, what are you comfortable with and what can you operate within? And I would encourage people, like once they become comfortable with TRT and everything there and they have their own baseline, they want to do that, like absolutely play around with it. I sure have.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things, like it's up to the end user, of like, what do they want to do? But there's no right or like so many people like, oh, you're going to die if you, take 400 milligrams of test a week or, you want to run Supremo or Masteron or whatever. But it's like, hey, I mean, each person should be able to do what they want to do. But I don't think I would never vilify TRT plus for sure. But does that mean you can only hit your goals? What are your goals? Is it become a bodybuilder? Or you sure as heck are not going to become a bodybuilder using TRT. But do you just want to look good, feel good? Yeah, of course. I think with TRT, HGH, desiccated thyroid, and peptides, you can absolutely like look pretty doggone good, depending on what your starting point is, obviously. So,
and what your goal is, because it does make a difference.
Yeah. Use FOXO4 with Fisetin and BAM15 amongst other things. Part of my senolytic. That's a good thing to do. Wow, Taylor, I love your channel. UK 50-year-old. I think this flag is small. I think that's UK.
Yeah.
Wow, 170 pounds down. Congrats.
That's awesome.
That's crazy. It's crazy. I always say for like a lot of people, like if someone that's never like really been overweight, or really overweight at all, but it takes way, way harder work and more discipline and willpower for someone to do that than a person that's just kind of like been a normal weight their whole life.
Yeah. It definitely does.
Michelle says, my husband's testosterone is 480. He's 49 years old. Still trying for our first child. What's the optimal level he needs to be at? And what can you do to help? I mean, the optimal level is going to be different for everyone. I would say 480 is low, but I would say to conceive a child, I would go to HCG, HMG, or recombinant FSH, glutathione, L-carnitine. That's the path I would go down. So I've got a recent video about that, kind of talking about all of those things and how I'm using them. Concerned about rebounding after coming off Retta. Any recommendations for non-GLP PEPs for fat loss? Sure. I mean, I think the standard answer is going to be like hormones and thyroid, then HGH or an HGH peptide. And then, yeah, sure, there's MOTS-c, there's SLU, there's things like 5-amino, ATX. There's lots of different stuff that are maybe not as powerful, but will still aid and kind of like help keep the momentum going.
Yeah. And it's like also too, like, shift the mindset a little bit, like shift your physique goals and your mindset of like what your goal is right now. If you're getting ready to come off because you've hit like your fat loss goal, then let it be a time where, okay, now we're going to reset and focus more on putting some muscle mass back on. If I need to put muscle mass back on, that means I need to eat more calories. I'm not saying you need to like binge eat, but it's like increasing and being in a calorie surplus, still healthy calories, still healthy macro count, still healthy foods. But that way it gives you, when you have that mindset of that goal of like putting muscle on, it makes that transition easier.
Yeah. Yeah, like sometimes hunger is the body needs to have a hunger signal.
Yeah.
This is a sign that like you're undernourished.
Yeah.
To what you need to eat. And the goal should with GLP should not be to like starve yourself. It should be to enable extra, especially in the case of Retta, like extra calories burnt. And like to get you in a catalyst. This is what I was looking for to get where you're going rather than like something you just rely completely on to help. So hunger is not always a bad thing. I have a natural spring on my property. I wonder about that due to it spins, but then it gets held in the tank in the shade, but it still needs to spin again. I mean, it probably depends on how long. Like I would say if it's
cool.
Yeah, if it's like
I wish we had
like a day or two, it's probably fine. But like if a water sits for like weeks at a time, it definitely needs to spin again. You know?
Yeah. What's that thing that I have?
It's like a structured water.
The structured water little vase thing. They're kind of expensive.
Yeah.
But
here's a good question. Is enclomiphene worth a try to optimize test or better to just do injectable tests? Let's assume in the case FSH is in range pre-therapy, but total test is 457 and free is 84, which is really 8.4, and SHBG is 17. I mean, here's what will happen. Your total test, if you do enclomiphene, your total test will go up probably to like 800 or 900 or 1,000. Your free will probably go up to, on this measure, like 120, which would be like a 12. SHBG probably won't change that much. And you'll be like, I feel a little different. And so if you want to do that first, just to see how you feel, that's fine. Obviously it's the person, but I would say it's never going to be the long-term solution.
Yeah.
So thank you, Robert. Thank you for being a longtime supporter and amazing member of the group and friend of us. And what's up, Sean? Have we thought about more of some sort of Axion gathering? I have. I just haven't like logistically. It would be tough. What I would probably do, and this would be like depending on our timetable, it might have to be like in the fall if we were even to do it. And I would probably just make this open to the public, not even for people in the private group. It's just I would just go rent like a ballroom in a hotel here where we live, which is in Raleigh, North Carolina, and make it for free. So like as long as you can pay your way to get here and your hotel, if you need a hotel to stay here, I know that a lot of people are local so they can drive.
Yeah.
Well, as long as you pay your probably more.
I think there's more than I realized, but
yeah,
I don't think there's that many.
Yeah. But yeah, I would just want to make it free. And I would, so like we would pay money to go to these conferences. By the time you pay for flights and food and hotels and everything around that, I could probably just about nearly rent out event space here, make it free for people. And that way I'm not going to a conference to like, I don't really care to be there anyway, other than the fact that I'm.
The only time we're there is to meet.
Meaning that like a lot of times the content that you're getting is not worth the cost that you're paying. It's usually the people that are there that are worth the cost.
Yeah.
Versus like, okay, I have people that follow us that, and we could invite other people that we know too, that like we podcast with that are friends that you guys would love too, and do that, make it free for people. And the same amount of money that I would be a sunk cost in going to a conference, I could do like a thing here, just have people come for free. We just hang out and do a seminar and talk about peptides and do whatever.
So everybody that wants this seminar to happen, I want everybody to send Hunter an email.
Nope, please don't do that.
Because if you
I
do
will set up a better way.
then-
No, I will set up a better way
I'm just getting
to collect.
to get it going.
I know, but there's more efficient ways because like I just won't have time.
I'm
to
just saying,
do
like,
that.
if you like it, if you want that, like, send Hunter an email.
Well, I do want that. It's just a matter of
And
doing the time.
well, I know.
There's not really like there's all these conferences, but there's not really one that is like a peptides oriented conference right now. I mean, there are.
There are. No, there
They're
definitely
slightly more
are, but they're
medical.
not.
But yeah, so yeah, that would be like our dream is to do that. And we could probably get enough sponsors to like where we'd make it free for people. Sponsors would cover the cost, and then we can just have, hopefully a few hundred people.
Yeah. I think the only downfall is like just like technical, like how
to
make it work. Because if we want to make it free, but then it's also like there could be a chance, like obviously there'll be a limited amount of tickets, and then there has to be like a guarantee that someone's actually going to show up, because I don't want like all these tickets to get bought out and it gets sold out quickly, and then there's actually less people that show, which that's going to happen no matter what. But that's the one part we have to kind of like figure out with our team.
Like if I made it free, but then they're like, oh, I'll RSVP and it's free, and then like 500 people RSVP, and then like 50 people show up, and then
yeah, it's kind of like you're taking away from someone who really was committed to coming. So we have to figure that part out.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. But I would much rather prefer to do that than
I would prefer to do that than go to conferences.
Yeah. Some of them. Some
of them are great, but I would much rather go.
It's just much more fun to like hang out with people you want to be around too.
Well, and it's people that like want to.
Yeah, they're interested.
Interested in you.
Yeah. Barbarian dummy. Kind of like me. Been loving the podcast. Got my girlfriend watching too. Appreciate all they're doing and spreading it. Reddit has been working great. Down 13 pounds. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you guys. Without you guys, we don't exist. Solid SLU and BAM protocol after running SS31 Mod C. Looking to recomp for the summer. I would probably do. I like 50 milligrams of BAM to like 250 micrograms of SLU would be the ratio. You just have to find the right blend of those together, or you can get them separately and use them. And then you can go to like 100 milligrams of BAM to 500 micrograms of SLU. I've done that. That's what I've used in the past in products, and that worked really well for me.
Yeah.
I like those combos. Some people hate on the combo. I mean, I think it's just right now we're just talking in theory. Like the people that debate over like SLU or BAM, are they together? Are they separate? I think right now I see both sides of the picture. It's just a matter of like, we don't really know. So right now we're just talking in theory. If we talked in theory, we would say that BPC 157 causes cancer. There's actually data that shows that it reduces tumors. So, I mean, it's very hard to say, but I personally have used it, felt good, and got good results. And that puts us at 2 hours and 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Robert. Because you didn't put the comment that it's fine. You don't have to, but that's thank you, Robert. You just solved part of my problem. Thank you.
Put a deposit going to some kind of giveaway so they can. Yeah.
That's so smart.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys. Wonderful Saturday morning. I hope you guys have an enjoyable, wonderful weekend. Again, just in closing, without you guys, we don't exist. So thank you. Whatever form or fashion it is that you support us, we appreciate that more than you know. It is a privilege and blessing to get to even just hang out with you guys and have a platform to do this. So thank you guys. Spread the word, do the work, and we will see you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.